Important to have a plan and understand what your goals are.
In fact, my camel out there is suffering right now with a broken back.
So I actually found Pepe when it was only a couple of hours old, and I'm like, oh, this is a funny meme.
Oh my god.
Yo! Who is this degen?
The old man is swing trading over years at a time. And it's like, that's where the real money is made.
The answer is a permanent loss. With single-sided staking, you don't have to worry about impermanent loss.
When really, at the end of the day, it's just the matter of a macro market. It's just what happens.
If you're aware, if you're disciplined, you can hone that into further financial growth.
Financial freedom, so we can actually live life and not have to be constantly living paycheck to paycheck. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, more or less, right?
Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, and D-gentlemen of all ages. I'm flipping on the old green screen there, but it is great to have you all with us this evening for another book club, and a happy Friday night to all you guys out there. Tonight, we're talking about status and culture. This was my recommendation, but it was also a bit of a oddball recommendation that I think Will and I both enjoyed pretty good. We'll get into the rabbit hole story of how I got here later on in the show, but overall, pretty much little book about status and culture, about high society, low society, and how they're kind of kept apart, and then how that's kind of quickly fallen apart in the internet age. So very interesting book, about 13 hours long for those of you guys that made the trek through it. So shout out to all that you did. But outside of that, we're very happy to be here with you tonight. Hello, my name is Zenith. I'm a bit of a government and legal analyst over here at the Degen Roundtable. But more importantly, I'm joined by my excellent co-host, Mr. Will Stevenson, a jack of all trades and a real salt of the earth kind of man, I might add.
Ooh.
How you doing, buddy?
Oh, whoa, I got an intro. I'm not used to getting intros, broski. I'm used to introducing other people. This is awesome. Hell yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, how you doing, buddy?
Dude, life is good. Me and Sam went for some pretty good exploration on some dirt bikes and mini bikes earlier today. So that was awesome. Doing some hill climbs, rolling around in the mud. And then after that, we're like, oh, well, let's go splish splash in the pool at the little apartment complex. And so went out there, did some sunbathing, did some swimming, did some exploring. And then I just got a bunch of shit done today. So it's been a great day, an awesome day. And I had remembered late last night that I was like, oh shit, I got to read this book for book club. So I was also cramming that in today as well. So it's been a jam-packed day. Super cool, super fun, super awesome. So that's what I'm up to. I'm ready to get into this book though, man. This was it was not what I anticipated. It was a lot of like both of the stuff that you and I like all fused into one. So it's really cool. Like normally, for the folks at home that don't know, normally Zenith is talking about like the markets and the economics and the money and the flow of like currency and thing. And I'm normally focused on like people skills and learning about like sales and interacting with humans. And then this book was like the combination of those two things. So it was super cool. Great find, Zenith. And who is it you said that got you this recommendation?
So I have a couple of them. Let me see if I can find it. I believe it's this one right here. So wasn't sure when I was going to pull these up, but I kind of just knew I was. So
okay. I'm going to grab a beer too, since you grabbed a beer.
True. So I found this when I was scrolling the old Instagrams, and it originally started off as a bit of a segue from doing our whole Alex Hormozy series about like business owning. And this guy breaks down luxury hospitality and stuff like that, and how there's kind of a disconnect going on right now. But this book is mentioned. And then there's also another guy that I ran into that also mentioned the same book. I was like, okay, I might have to give this a listen. But please let me know if you cannot hear this.
old money versus the new generation in luxury hospitality. More specifically, how they influence each other and how they play status games. The mechanics of taste have been disrupted by the velocity of internet culture. And hospitality is where these two distinct value systems have collided. You have the private, the exclusive, favored by legacy wealth and older generations. On the other side is the younger generation. For them, luxury experiences and luxury travel is identity. And both of these groups are jockeying for status within their individual subcultures. In Status and Culture by David Marks, he explains that status is not about vanity. It's a structured system driven by the desire for social rank. And in luxury hospitality, status is signaled through three main currencies. First is economic capital or money, the $2,000 room rate, the champagne. Marx calls this vulgar because it's easy to acquire but hard to respect. This is part of the reason why 13 Hotel in Macau failed. It was opulence without credibility. Next up is cultural capital, knowing all the good, secret, hidden spots or the unspoken dress codes. And lastly is social capital or access. It's knowing the general manager, getting to the front of the line, or getting the off-menu wine. But the internet broke all of these barriers. In the past, there was a big gap between when old money adopted a trend and when the masses adopted it. But now TikTok shows you the best bar, the best table, or the hidden hotel instantly. This collapse has created a status paradox that the more visible you are, the less status you hold. You can't really be true high-end luxury and viral at the same time. But the younger generation craves the old money aesthetic, and their income is growing. So the future of luxury hospitality is something called status decoupling. In other words, you protect the experience for the few, but sell to the many. Maybe they can't afford your $2,000 suite, or they can't access it, but they'll buy your merch line. And the merch isn't even about the merch itself. It's about them using it as a signal that they're in the know and that they belong to this exclusive club. The future of luxury hospitality is not access for all like the Soho House. It's about designing friction for the few and desire in everybody else. Let's talk about
There you go. That was
for the few and desire for everyone else. That is interesting.
Yeah. By the way, the guy's name is the Ryan Experience on Instagram. He does a lot about like luxury hospitality and services and stuff. It's very interesting. Again, like I found this guy via like the $100 million offers model of like thinking about like business structures and comparing like stuff like that. But then this book he mentions does a really good job of breaking down that and so much more. So the book doesn't specifically cater to like business owners or people trying to like understand the industry. It's really just like a higher level philosophical, theoretical, analytical view of kind of like human society. And then the last two chapters in particular are, in my opinion, were pretty interesting because they specifically deal with the internet age and how modern times have kind of accelerated it into like this weird black hole that really deviates from everything in the past. But the way that it deviates is that it takes it so fast that none of it matters anyways, because the whole point of the game of playing the status game is that it matters. But if it happens so fast that you can never keep up, that none of it matters, then it's like, man,
and then you end up with hotels that have this problem of like, how do I play this game? How do I make money? How fascinating.
Yeah. There's that one. There were a couple more. Another guy breaks down one of the other ideas that we'll probably talk about later on in the book called cultural omnivorism. This is very much a like last two chapters kind of idea. It's that status and culture changed, and like taste in particular changed from being like highbrow and lowbrow to being everything, and then using different signals to kind of differentiate the high status and low status stuff. Alrighty. Well, hopefully that's yeah. Go for it.
No, I was gonna say I was just gonna say something agreeable to key you up to keep talking. It didn't work.
Fair enough. We'll tell you what. I was thinking about other stuff that we have to do, which is we're gonna say hello to the people out there.
We do have to say hello to the people out there, ladies and germs. Oh, there goes that thing. It's time for chat motherfucking shoutouts. Your guys' favorite part of the show, the part of the show where we tell you about how much we love you because you tell us how much you love us. Look at that.
True. Alrighty, up first, Mr. Slide 180 saying, I'm working night shift right now. Can't watch the show. Love y'all. Prost. Prost to you too, sir.
Prost
Cheers.
to you too, good sir. Cheers.
Excellent. We got the number 2 degen of the evening, Mr. Fast Abdul himself. He says, like, will you eat people from any culture? Is this a cannibalism stream? The omnivores for culture?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Totally.
Uh,
100%, bro.
I think people might be off the menu, but I'm just saying, like, it's going to be talking about consuming everything. And by the way, Fast Abdul, fellow, I guess, crypto enthusiast, if you will, part of the whole reason I even kind of stumbled onto this book and thought it might be a good one is I was like, I kind of want to try to approach this angle from like a little bit of the crypto perspective. Because what's the meme that everyone talks about? It's like when the market happens, what does everyone buy? What do they buy, Will?
They buy the fancy things. They buy the Lambos. They buy the Rolexes. They buy the shit that rich people have. They want to look like they're rich people, and so they go out like basically like the human condition is to mimic, right? So we mimic the things that we respect. We mimic the people that we look up to. We mimic the people that we see doing the successful things that we want. And so it's like, oh, look at that. Dwayne the Rock Johnson drives a smart car, so I'm gonna get a smart car, and I'm gonna cram myself into this smart car. Or like, what is it? The guys from Mad Max drive the Doofmobile, so when Will gets crypto wealthy, he's gonna buy the Doofmobile, or yada yada yada, right? So everyone plays this status game, and then you have like the new money clashing with the old money, and it's just like like when your parents find out the fancy cool words and they start using the teenage words with the teenagers, and the teenagers are like, ugh, it's not cool anymore. The people that weren't supposed to know our secret stuff now know our secret stuff, so we have to come up with new things. And then those teenagers grow up, and then they're the parents, and then their kids are talking, and then they're trying to learn the cool kids language. And then when they do, it's like it's all fucky. So you have the old people like trying to get in with the young people and figure out like what is it that they're attracted, what is it that they're into, and then you have the young people trying to pose and do the old people stuff. So it's just it's a fun big game. But that does that answer your question? Zenith is the crypto
Yes, it
bros. They buy the
does.
Rollies and the Lambos.
Exactly. The Rollies and the Lambos and the yacht parties.
Yeah.
It's like curious why we always just go towards that. Well, hopefully we'll find out maybe an answer in the book.
I mean, I could speculate, but let's continue for the sake of
Fair enough. Good to see you, Fast Abdul. We also got Mr. Sam Stevenson of still Rapid Designs.
Yes, Rapid Designs.
Excellent. The man with soon to be the man with the coolest van with the coolest wrap. Shout out to you, good sir. He says, we love you. We love you too, Sam.
We do love you too, Sam. Most outstanding.
True. Moonpill saying, I was under the impression there wasn't going to be a book club tonight. Yes, I know. Apologies, we got the thumbnail up a little bit late, but I've been talking about it all week, and I was particularly excited for this one. So, hey, I feel like if we're not going to have it, we usually do a pretty good job of letting you guys know more than an hour ahead of time, hopefully. But at the same time, we are 9 to 5 folks. So apologies, but always good to see you. And yes, glad to see you as well, good sir. Mm-hmm. Ooh, check it out. We got someone from X coming in here. He says, when the girl at FedEx says she likes your work, kind of makes you go,
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
You, Mr. Robert Brooker, Old Dude.
Social proof. Well, I mean, like that is social proof. That is the culture, and that is the status. That's right. Like you have both, because when the person appreciates your work, they not only know about your work, but they're into it. And so like because they're into it, you now have status. And because they know about it, you have some version of culture. So that's pretty awesome, broski. Most excellent.
True. All right, we got one more sneaking in here. Mr. Hex Glenn, he says, evening. Good evening to you as well, sir. Always a pleasure to have you guys. Happy Friday, as always. I know it's hear me out. I wouldn't be surprised if we had a few less viewers tonight, because it is officially Mistress Day.
Mistress Day.
Do you know what I'm referring to, Will? What holiday happens
day before Valentine's?
Yes, there you go. You got the joke.
Oh, Mistress Day. Yes, everyone. This is the time. If you have a Valentine, then today is the day that you spend time with your not Valentine, with your side piece, with your second special someone, or maybe just the one that's that excites you rather than the one that you have a deep love for. So
That's true. I am getting some breaking news here. This could be an especially unlucky Mistress Day because it's also Friday the 13th.
oh shit, it is Friday the 13th. Look at
Look at
that.
that.
Friday the 13th, the day before Valentine's Day. That's
Very
awesome.
nice.
Oh, Mr. Moonpilled has another recommendation in the chats. He's listening to it now. He will keep us posted. I'm going to take a peek on over at the book suggestions. It looks like he has recommended The 5 Types of People Who Can Ruin Your Life by Bill Eddy. That's interesting.
That does sound very interesting.
Hmm.
Yeah. Please keep us posted. That sounds very interesting. If it's a good one, we might just have to, do it on the show.
Yeah. Let us know, Brusky. Let us know. By the way, Zenith, total non sequitur for you. What do you think of the reoccurring stream templates in StreamYard? Is that pretty cool? Is that useful for us to like just always have the same link to click on?
I see no functional difference other than having to push one less button because when I get in there, I still have to make the entire thing exactly as it used to be. So I'm like,
yeah,
okay,
yeah, sure. It's just there's a like, well, so now there's a permanent link for the folks at home that would like join on, like, if you guys ever want to join one of these Degen Roundtable book clubs with us, then the one link that exists is the one link that will always bring you into the StreamYard studio after, of course, after we make the studio link and things. So like, as long as you guys read the book, and I'm not afraid to say it, bro. There's 9 people watching right now. So the 9 of you guys watching, I fucking love each and every single one of you 9 folks. So like, if you're watching and you ever want to hop on the book club because you read a book, you think, don't hop on just for shits and giggles to kind of like take up airspace if you haven't read the book or something. But if you've got some great and awesome thoughts, like we did our last book club with Moondog. Moondog joined us, and it was crazy cool and awesome. He had some wonderful things to say. And in the beginning of the book club, we had like it was like you, me, Nate, Farmer Jay, my brother Sam, Nate's wife, Mrs. McGettit. There was 6 of us on book club. So lots of great conversation can be had if the folks want to join. So anyways, that's total non sequitur. Yeah.
Way to put it out there, though.
Oh yeah,
Sure.
Moonpill. I guess Moonpill. If ever you want to talk about all these books that you keep recommending to us, that's what it was. If you ever want to chat about all these books you keep recommending to us, the link that we put in there occasionally for book clubs, like if it is the same StreamYard link in several different book club topic sections, then feel free.
Either that, or always just feel free to hit us up.
Yeah, that too. That works better, and that's probably more consistent. It's like, hey, bro, what's the link? Then we'll just send it to you. But if you want to do your own homework and find it, and then just pop into the show one day, surprise us, then could be fun.
There you go.
Anyways, take us back, Z. I've steered us away.
All good. Tell you what, let's get into the book. So here is your very quick summary. Status and Culture argues that the fundamental human drive for social rank, status, is the central engine behind nearly all cultural phenomena, shaping our tastes, identities, behaviors, and the very structure of culture itself. Marx synthesizes insights from sociology, psychology, anthropology, economics, philosophy, and cultural theory to show that status signaling through conventions, symbols, tastes, and consumption creates norms, trends, and styles. Individuals and groups constantly compete for distinction, imitating and differentiating themselves in ways that give rise to cultural practices, subcultures, art, fashion cycles, and broader social change. The book also examines how institutions and globalization influence status dynamics and how the internet era has transformed cultural signaling and innovation.
Yeah, it was pretty fascinating to learn about the way that, like, the effects that the internet had. And then when he talked about, like, the internet's not even a thing. The internet's just a bunch of description of times and places where people are all talking to each other. It's like, whoa,
True. Yeah, the book has 10 chapters. The last 2 are really the big ones that talk about, the last one is the internet age, but the one before it, history and continuity, that's like the precursor to the internet age. It's like, okay, there's all these different changes and stuff. What is classic? What resurfaces? What is retro? All that kind of stuff. And then he's like, okay, cool. Here's what the internet did to all that. Get ready.
It's quite fascinating.
Pretty good. Alrighty. So real quick, I'm going to go through the chapters, give you a quick explanation. It's really broken down into 4 parts. We have status and the individual, status and creativity, status and cultural change, and then finally status and culture in the 21st century, aka the internet chapter. And then he does actually have a conclusion at the end. I think that one has some particularly interesting recommendations. It's definitely a prescriptive part of the chapter that kind of gives you, I mean, to reference last week's show, how to read a book. That's the chapter where it really like shows who the author is and what they hope to achieve or aspire to kind of like change society in a bit. So overall, I think that this book from the author's lens is interesting because if I don't know anything about the author, but I'll look him up real. W. David Marks. If I had to guess, or well, if you had to guess, give me like the biography of who this guy is, how old, kind of like career. What would you say this person like build this profile?
Yeah, I would presume that he's a mid 30s to mid 40s lefty sub one, but I could be totally wrong. But he wrote this book in the 2020s some point because he references many things that happened, and like he even says here in the 2020s. What do you think? Am I like way off kilter here?
No, you are pretty spot on. In fact, you actually pegged him a little younger than he actually is. Born 1978, so he's 47 years old. He's actually from Oklahoma, but he did go to Harvard for a bachelor's, and then he went to Keio University for a master's. And this is his third book, but he also has 2 more. The ones after this are called Desire for Social Rank. Oh, sorry. That's 1 book. It's just a long title. Nope, that's all the subtitle for this one. Status and Culture, How Our Desire for Social Ranks Create Taste, Identity, Art, Fashion, and Constant Change. That is a mouthful for a book title, all right. But this book came out in 2022, and it does reference TikTok. It references the internet, kind of the change from like MySpace, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and presumably what will be coming next. I think he even references there's a social network for affluent or high status people that you either have to have like a certain amount of followers or a certain amount of like wealth to get into. So
yeah,
I would say this is still very recent, very current, if you will.
Yeah.
But gosh, it's crazy to say this. When I say 2022, does that sound like 4 years ago?
Yeah, bro. This isn't the first time I've felt this way when I've heard, numbers like that. And it's like, oh, wow, 9/11 was like quarter of a century ago, fucking nuts, man.
Yeah, it's kind of wild to think about. True. All right, give me 1 sec.
Yeah.
And
you were going through the chapters. Did you go through all of them already?
Not yet. So, chapter 1. Okay. Basics of status. Pretty much says that the logic of social status is this is how hierarchy forms. It's what status means in modern life, and why do we even care about social status or rank? He explains that status is relative, socially conferred position tied to prestige, recognition, and reputation. The key points in this one is that this is one of the points that's carried out through the rest of the book, is that it's relative, meaning that there's no absolute status. Everything is relative to each other. And then status is conferred by social, pretty much reciprocity or acknowledgement. Like you can shout that you're high status, but it's like it doesn't really mean anything unless people also agree with you that you are and then treat you as such. Chapter 2 is conventions and status value, explores how the social conventions, aka norms and behaviors, pretty much they emerge and they gain status value. They even seem arbitrary at times, but he actually talks about how it being arbitrary is kind of the point, which is like there might be some like weird things that you do or like weird drinks that you drink, and it's like you don't even really like it, but you kind of do it just for the purpose of like drinking it to keep the status marker. And this is one of the things where he talks about, which is like this is where you can start to see identification between distinct groups.
That's what I think of every time I pick up an IPA, and I'm like, I don't enjoy this, but you know what? Or that's how I used to be, anyways. Now I just don't give a shit. I'll shamelessly drink my Michelob Ultra with prickly pear. It's like I don't give a fuck anymore, anyways. But like, I used to like experiment more with different alcohol stuff. That's like, I know that I don't like this stuff. And I remember one time I had a buddy. I want to shout you out, Mr. Stephen Worley, wherever you're at. He was like, I had a bottle of mead that I had bought from some wine store, and I'm like, I want to like this bottle of mead, so I'm going to drink it until it's good. And then he was like, bro, what the fuck are you doing? Trying to pretend that you like mead? Get out of here with that shit. And it's just like, oh, damn, I guess you're right. He's like, yeah, you're just one of those people that like wants to like something that you don't like, so you're pretending. Knock it off and just like the things that you like. And he was like, damn, bro, fucking wise words there. So shout out to Mr. Stephen Worley, wherever you are, broski.
Shout out to you, sir. Alrighty, chapter number 3, signaling and status symbols. This is how we analyze how people communicate their rank through status symbols. This is fashion, technology, the places you run, speech, how you talk, and then taste. Taste is not like I taste this fine silver bullet because the mountains are blue, and that has an absolutely better effect than a can that doesn't turn blue. But no, it's the idea of taste as a thing that kind of shifts over time and is used as a marker to show that like you get it, you run with certain people, and you also know what you're talking about. Chapter 4 is taste, authenticity, and identity. This is where we really dive into these. And in this chapter, we actually get an interesting little like trifecta of what the author describes as persona, identification, and self. This is an interesting one for me because I think it really breaks down like the different ways that you present yourself, what you are, and what you think you are. Because persona is the thing that you show to other people. It's kind of like the brand that you build for yourself. Identity is what you are. It's like your genetic makeup, like how tall you are, how you look, that kind of stuff. And then self is your inner self, like your inner monologue, how you see yourself, how you see the world, mentality, that kind of stuff. Alrighty. Part 2, chapter 5 is classes and sensibilities. This one is where we discuss class dynamics and how they influence cultural sensibilities and aesthetic preferences. This is where we kind of get into the differentiation between like highbrow, lowbrow, and even a little bit of like what is a middle class. And then inside of each of these classes, they develop different tastes and identifiers and signifiers to kind of show what you are. And it kind of goes into like group identity. That's pretty much what that is. But also kind of like the different, how they order themselves in society and how they interact. Number 6 is where we get into an interesting one for me. This was subcultures and countercultures. It's a look at how do the subcultures arise as an alternative status system, and then often how they kind of all flow back into each other, which is that you have a culture, you have a counterculture, you have a commodification of a counterculture, and then you have that becoming the new popular culture, and then yet again another turn away from it, from what are kind of like the trendsetters or the high status people who try to adopt trends first. And then out of that, you also get a new counterculture, and then this cycle just keeps going and going. Number 7. This is a bit of a dense one for me. This was art. This chapter is talking about what is art? What is good art? What even does art mean?
I like the quote that you put in the Telegram, though. That was a good quote. We can come back to it later if you want to continue.
Yeah. I can't remember which one it was. There were, we both had a lot of really good quotes for this one. But yeah, this one explores where creators and audiences negotiate prestige, originality, and recognition. Art movements become a key battleground for cultural and status distinction. This is a good one. This is actually talking about fashion and fashion cycles. Yeah, we'll get to that one for sure.
Yep.
Speaking of which, chapter 8, fashion cycles. That's where this one came from.
Yep.
The author analyzes how fashion trends cycles through elite introduction, emulation, mainstream adoption, and eventual abandonment. And it's all driven by status competition and signaling dynamics. This one was... I had another really good quote from this one that I thought, which is the guy saying that, like, theoretically, we've devoted enough human time to the perfection of like fashion, where theoretically we should have converged on what is like optimized fashion. But the fact that we have constant fashion cycles shows that that's not what the pursuit ever was. Because if you think about it, like what humans have been around for, gosh darn, like 5,000 millennia in actual like civilized society. So at that point, you think we may have approached like what is a beauty standard for fashion? It's like, I can buy that argument, but I think the author is an even better one, saying like, look, The reason that we don't have this is because we're constantly pursuing something else. And in his answer to this, in case you haven't figured it out by now, is that status is a never-ending, constant competition. Alrighty, number 9, history and continuity. This is how we look at how historical conventions and past styles persist or resurface in culture, affecting contemporary identities and preferences. I like this chapter a lot because it talks about what is a classic in the sense of like a classic literary artwork, that kind of thing. What is classic fashion, that kind of stuff. And then this is where we get the idea of retro, which is, why does retro exist? If everything is cyclical, theoretically, it's pursuing to the next thing. It should never be going to back to something that was abandoned. But the idea of retro was, it's pretty much, you go back to this other thing because you either want to reevaluate it or you're using it for like whimsy or irony. So it's like the ironic, I wear bell-bottom jeans in the year 2026, that kind of stuff. And then finally, true.
Go ahead.
Lastly, we have kind of the capstone, or not the capstone, but the ultimate point the author was driving towards, which is the internet age. So we just talked about history, classics, what becomes a classic, that kind of stuff. Finally get to the internet age. Focuses how the digital age and social media have transformed status signaling, accelerating trend cycles, increasing visibility of status competition, and challenging traditional markers of cultural prestige. This was a big one. And I think that the big point for me on this one that I got was that what the internet did was not it changed two things fundamentally. Number one was reach, and number two was velocity. Reach is now everything status previously through human history was kind of like geographically confined. Sure, you can travel and whatnot, but even then, if you're traveling, you're now traveling to an outside environment from you, and a lot of the status symbols that you had carried with you or the prestige that you had no longer was there. So you would have to either use the existing things about yourself to convince the other people of like high society that you are also of high society and they should accept you, or it's not going to work out. And then the second one was reach, for sure, which is that because the internet connects everyone, that boundary no longer happens. It is everyone can pretty much see everything that you put out there, and that anybody can reach anybody, especially through social media, which is no longer the early internet, which is you kind of have to know where you go. It's more like there are these communal areas that everyone inhabits, and then it's self dispensing, pretty much saying that like everyone will be fed everything, and then through algorithms, you'll find out what is like you, what you like, what is similar, that kind of stuff. Yeah. For this one, were there any big ideas from the internet chapter that stuck out to you?
I was there was one thing. What was it? Video game culture. His positive video game culture has replaced music culture in terms of like being an economic powerhouse. That was fascinating, and I thought that was really cool.
Video games are
yeah.
massive. I can't remember the stats, but I want to say, gosh, even back in like 2016, 17, and 18, video games had already eclipsed like normal, or I guess like normal like TV media. So like, granted, this is also the age when Netflix and streaming services really came into their own, but at the same time, gaming at this point had already eclipsed that stuff. And now we're at 2026, like post-COVID too. Gaming is just an absolute juggernaut currently when it comes to just like pure market dollars that flow through it.
Yeah. Paying for the privilege to make people feel addicted to a thing, or not paying for the privilege, but creating the privilege of addiction and getting paid for it.
I would argue that's not exactly unique to video games, but I understand the point you're going for.
Yeah. And then there was one other there was a couple things actually. So there was another one where it's like his posit that you can't just exist on the internet. You have to do things. It used to be you could exist on the internet, and it's like, oh, well, cool. There's Will's Facebook page. I'm gonna go check it out. And now it's like, if I'm not actively posting things all the time, then you get forgotten in the sea of memes and cleavage and funny videos and everything that's happening, like the high dopamine stuff.
Goth
Like,
girls
people
and white monsters for your reels.
Yeah, exactly. The reels are outpacing, your status updates. I don't know if you remember Facebook when it was just people posting words. Before Facebook had image capability. I remember one time when I copy pasted an image and I was able to click paste onto Facebook in the little word area, and I was like, I wonder what happens if I hit this, because like nobody was posting images, everyone was just like talking to each other, and then I posted an image and it was like, I can reply to people with memes. I didn't know what memes were at the time, what the name was. I just know like, oh, there's this. I think I called them reaction pictures back in the day, because it's like that's what they were. Or demotivational posters. You remember those? The black box with the white text at the bottom over some fucking asinine picture or some.
I almost want to say those are the precursor to memes
Well,
because
no, memes have always existed. Richard Dawkins talked about them in the 80s. But like what we call memes, just being like a funny internet picture
I guess
or
my
something.
my overly technical engineer brain is looking at like the demotivational posters
That
as
was
like
the
it's like the meme template, which is
Mhm.
image text, and then we transform to image or text on image.
Yes. Yeah, because it was like a frame that went around the image, and then the text was inside the frame. And then from there we went to that big white block letters. Like the one that comes to mind for me is like a baby rabbit eating carrots, and then on the top it's like, oh my god, carrots, just like that one. And it's just like
Yeah.
fucking classic. It's an old meme, sir, but it checks out, like the
That's a
original
meme in
internet
itself.
culture. Yeah. And it's like use a meme to describe another meme. And then like I was speaking to Sam one day, and he was telling me about like how memetics are actually like it's the equivalent of a mind virus. It's a thing that's so contagious that you can't help but enjoy it and also spread it to other people. So like it doesn't live, it doesn't exist, but it acts the same way as like a virus or a bacteria, where it like infects the host, it takes over your attention span, and then you have to spread it to other people. Like think about how many times you watch a funny video and it's like, oh, I better go tag the boys in this one. I better go send this to my sister. I better not put this on my church's Facebook page, yada, yada, yada. It acts the same way as a virus or as a bacteria, but it's all like, it's all mental, it's all social, it's all like binary signals on computers instead of like, a human immune system. But it's crazy the parallels and things.
I get you.
But yeah,
By the way,
those are some of my thoughts of the internet thing. Did you have anything, or you wanted to say something there?
I got one thing real quick. Speaking
Yeah.
of Sam Stevenson, he says nowadays you carry status with you through Instagram.
Yep.
Join MOA.
There you
By
go.
the way, that's a
Join the
reference
Men of
to
Action.
Michael Sartain's Men of Action group. Sam, I thought I read this book and I immediately was thinking of MOA. I went on to Sartain's book list. This is not on there. I was surprised by that one because we've covered a handful of those from his book list, and I was very surprised that this is not on there because I thought that this kind of book would be right up that alley.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. If you got a link to Mr. Sartain, drop him a recommendation. Tell him when he's done reading it to come chat with us. That'd be cool.
There you go. Hey, Michael, you want to come on our podcast?
We would love to have you, good sir.
Yes, sir.
True.
Yeah, join the Men of Action. It's a good group. It's a good group full of great people. I've met many people in the Men of Action group, and my brother's a big fan, and I've got to see the real life use case of it improving a person and seeing what it does and seeing how it can build social circles. So it's like I've been witness to all of it. So go do it, guys. Get
There
in
you
there.
go. Love it. Alrighty. So that pretty much, sorry, I got one more thing. The conclusion chapter. Status, equality, and cultural creativity. That's what we're getting for the summary on this one. The author concludes by reflecting on the implications of status competition in modern society, including whether increased inequality or changes in digital culture might reshape how status influences culture production and innovation. The kind of final gist I got out of this one was that the author kind of shows his colors here as really coming out as a bit of a person left of center by saying that a lot, like we should be trying to have status as a more equitable thing. Like, why can't more people have status? Why can't we give status to people who are proportionally oppressed from the past? That kind of stuff. The bias comes out, but at the same time, I don't think the bias discounts pretty much any of the other stuff in the book. I think that it comes out in other places a little bit, but at the same time, I think the analysis of kind of like society and humans and the way we operate stuff, I think is still very relevant. I do disagree with the author a little bit, especially considering he spends an entire book talking about how status is this like never ending hierarchy game, and that there are times when it's like good makes sense and times where it kind of doesn't make sense and it's very like trivial and pursuit of like debauchery kind of stuff. So for him to at the end of it kind of come out and be like, yeah, we should get towards everyone has status or more people have status. I'm like, I thought you were saying
then
that
it's not
it's not gonna
status.
change. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's like, hey, have you read your own book?
Like I appreciate the notion, but at the same time, I think you might be like pandering to an audience a little bit instead of like being real with your analysis there.
Yeah.
I mean,
I couldn't have said it better myself.
True.
I,
Look,
I had probably harsher words to say.
that's
but
fair.
We'll just leave it at that.
I can only go off of what was in the book, and that's it. If the man would like to come talk to us, we would love to have you, Mr. the man with an unfortunate last name a little bit, Mr.
Yeah.
W. David
So he
Marks.
is a communist.
There it is. It was all a ruse.
I don't know. Maybe he's Marx's grandson or something. For those of you guys that don't know, the was his name Devin Marks, last name Marks. I mean,
Yeah.
if that's a coincidence, that's a hell of a coincidence. Good for you.
True. Sorry, big guy, but you got what you got. You're playing a pretty good hand, so I'll tip the hat there.
Yeah.
The one Marks that we're not immediately gonna, outright dismiss and villainize. True. Alrighty. My first question for you, sir, is I didn't really cover it in the individual chapters, but there was one thing that really stood out to me through the entire book that carried through, and that was the idea of authenticity. It seems like authenticity is this thing that if you are inauthentic, it will constantly like destroy any status like associated with it. But then when we get towards the later half of the book, particularly the internet age, the author outright says like, the way that you're authentic on the internet is that you look at these people and you're like, yes, I am here to make money. And that's okay. Where previously that was like the big faux pas taboo thing not to do. So for you, do you think what do you think authenticity means for like the stuff in the past versus now?
I think that authenticity in the past was about creating a good product. And I think the authenticity now is about not only creating a good product, but being congruent with the things that you say and the things that you do and, all of that. Because we now live in a world full of fluff, in a world full of shiny thing that isn't what it looks like. All that glitters isn't gold kind of deal. And because there's so many more things to look at and there's so much more stuff to consume and there's so much more in that general realm, people are starved for authenticity. And so people who say the things like that they're not supposed to that like are unflattering but is true and is congruent, that's a breath of fresh air in a world full of passive aggressiveness and I'm not going to speak my mind because I don't want to upset the waters. It's like it's basically it is the thing that isn't common, and doing the thing that isn't common is the thing that gets you status. It is the thing that gets you like if you do what everyone else does, you're going to get what everyone else has got. And that's a quote from I think Pook from the Manosphere long ago. And in the internet world, everybody is chasing the lowest common denominator, trying to get the biggest dopamine spike that they can. And I say everybody, most folks that are creating most of the content are doing most of it, with clickbait and with the quick cuts and the things that like spike your dopamine. And it's like we do it here too on the Degen Roundtable for sure. In our titles, we'll put clickbaity titles, so that way you will fucking click it. You can come into here and listen to us chat and have authentic like we give you the sprinkle of heroin on top of the actual big gigantic workout regimen that will like make you healthy and strong and everything. And we'll be just we're just two fucking assholes here on the internet talking about our thoughts and our feelings, and you guys are hanging out and we're having fun, and we're not pretending to be anything else. We're not here to give out financial advice. We're not here to tell you how to fix your life. We're not here to give you concrete directions as to what's happening. We're just some people that are hanging out, and we let you guys know that we're people hanging out. And but we definitely make it shiny, so that way you click on it. But most people, they make it shiny, and then once you get in, it's just more dopamine, more dopamine, more dopamine, more dopamine, and more craziness. And it just kind of it it gets tiring after a while, and people crave authenticity. So I'm soapboxing here, Zenith. What do you think, Broski? Let me turn your question back on you.
I think the
What do you
authenticity,
think? Yeah.
the authenticity was an interesting one for me, because the authenticity in terms of status and culture for this one, going back to
Mhm.
probably like 1900s and earlier, it's very reminiscent of like the Great Gatsby story. Because gosh, I remember like being forced to read that book in high school, and we had to give presentations and like some like deeper meaning of the book. And I think all of us Googled the same basic thing, was like, oh, they use color as symbology. But now that I've like read the book, grown up, seen the movie, seen real life, and now that I've read this one, I was like, no, the whole point of that book was basically to say that like culture and status are things that that everyone aspires for, but unless you're actually like born into the heritage, you will quickly be ostracized and thrown out. Like, I think the ending to that book, spoilers by the way, is that Jay Gatsby ends up dead in a pool, and then the girl that he was pining after stays with her current husband, and then they never get touched, even though they also did a bunch of dastardly stuff, purely because he was proven to be a fraud. He was proven to be like born from high society and raised in it, that kind of stuff. And it's like, okay, got it. So the authenticity in this one is like, the whole point of the signaling and the status is to show that you are like other people. And the whole point of the status is for hierarchy. Human nature is always aspiring to climb the hierarchy to have the better life. But at the same time, not everyone can have the better life, partly because there's A, not enough to go around, and B, because the distinction is what matters for a lot of the hierarchy to exist. So he even talks about it in the strategies. Early on in the book, he talks about 3 strategies. There are strategy number 1 is to achieve status. You perform better against the existing standards, aka work hard and put in time and effort. Basically saying that you can achieve status by becoming proficient, excellent in whatever you do, that kind of stuff. Strategy number 2 was master the signaling process that will grant access to genuine status opportunities, which will further solidify status. That's the Great Gatsby model, which is that, granted, Gatsby had a bit of a benefactor who taught him how to do all these things, but really what it was at the basis was like, look, you are not from this culture. You're going to have to learn it. You're going to have to learn to exude it, that kind of stuff. That way you'll be accepted. Then all the things that you start doing inside of that circle start working as your foundation instead of what other people believe is your foundation. That's going to be your then next learning pad to really jump into it. The next 2 are strategies 3 and 4. We talk about these later on in the book, but they're change the status criteria in your favor. This goes back to you are of high society, and there are too many people entering high society. Therefore, you change the criteria. You say, no, no, no. Drinking that Bordeaux, Burgundy wine is so old-fashioned. We have a new thing that we do, and all of us clearly know it, obviously. And then strategy number 4 is forming a new status group. This is where we get into subcultures and countercultures. But authenticity still works in pretty much all these, which is that people like the genuine thing because they're saying that it's supposed to just exude from you. It's all just, or the quote on this one was that theoretically all signals are behavioral residue, reflections of how we live rather than items acquired for the purpose of claiming status. Tastes are natural and an extension of your inner self and your origin story. And then anytime that authenticity is challenged or proven to be not true, you are immediately the villain. You are the cheat. You are the liar. You are the scoundrel, that kind of stuff. Think like A Knight's Tale, the movie with, who's the guy that played the Joker? Heath Ledger. Good movie, by the way. The whole point is that he's not of noble birth, but he still wants to joust in the competitions. So he just fakes it. And then when they find out that his papers of nobility are fake, they lock him up, put him in the stockades, and literally leave him to fend for himself in mockery against the entire town of London. Like, that is how big the inauthenticity gap is. The interesting thing for me is that as we get to the internet age, the authenticity shifts because the demands shift as well, which is that even going back to the original that Instagram reel that we showed, where the guy talks about the different kinds of capital, where you have economic, social, network, or social, economic, and status, like accomplishments. Sorry, I was really struggling for the third one there. What he's saying that in the modern age, social capital and status capital are quickly diminishing, meaning that economic capital is really the only one left. Therefore, in the age where people are trying to achieve the high status, the most viable and easily one to do is economic. The social and the social and like the title status can come afterwards, but the fact that you are acknowledging openly that like, yeah, I'm here to make money. I'm here to get the Lambo. I'm here to get the Rolex. I'm here to get on the yacht. That kind of stuff. There's a weird flip of the authenticity, which is like you are now being open and honest with people, and they're like, okay, yeah, sounds good. I'm in. Yeah. Interesting stuff there. By the way, what'd you think about the strategies? Because we had the 4 strategies. Basically, like climb the social ladder, pretend you're of high status, change the criteria, or just screw it. I'm gonna go make my own casino with blackjack and hookers.
I think I'm more partial to the screw it one.
I thought you
And
might be so.
I didn't remember much about the 4 strategies. Can you list the first 3 again?
Basically climb the natural social order, like do well, you will be rewarded. Number 2 is fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
And number 3 was change the status criteria in your favor.
Yeah. So they're all pretty relevant. And I'm going to at this stage in my life, I'm going to fall into the more of a fuck it sense. But fake it till you make it is important. Michael Jordan had to act like he was a good basketball player before he became a good basketball player. He had to sit there and do the shots just like a good basketball player would until he started doing it. Like nobody starts as a perfect example of something. So you do have to fake it until you make it. You do have to practice. You do have to do that whole stuff. It's just it's important to just remain calibrated, that you're not faking it under the notion that like I am the thing. You're faking it so that you can become the thing. So that's an important distinction there. And then also, changing the rules so that way you win the game. That's something that I do quite often whenever I'm playing board games with my sister or things like that. Whenever I find myself playing a game that I don't want to play, I purposefully lose it so that way I can have fun, and then I get to tell stories and just be a general jackass. So that way I get something out of it.
I believe there's a Dark Knight quote about that. Some men
Yeah.
just want to watch the world burn.
Yeah, well, it's not necessarily watching the world burn. It's just like if I suck at this game and I know that I can't get a winning outcome, then I want to feel good. And how do I feel good? I feel good by controlling my destiny. What can I do definitively? I can lose on purpose. So it's like I'm going down this path and I'm getting my own little like win, because like I don't care about the game for the most part. I'm getting my own little win, and I'm getting my rocks off, and I'm getting my jollies and things. And this is a discussion I had with my brother a while back too, as well. So
no, this is actually this has been a very large discussion when it comes to like game design.
Yeah.
Notably, the head designer of Magic the Gathering, Mark Rosewater. The guy is an absolute animal when it comes to game design. He does a podcast in his car, literally called The Drive to Work, like every day. Like he's
cool.
Oh yeah, he's like well over like 1,000. I want to say 1,500 episodes at this point. He also still runs a Tumblr that he just like answers questions that people throw at him. Yeah. But the big one I was going to tell you here is that Mark Rosewater is one of the big people that proliferated the idea of player psychographics. Basically, there's this like triangle or trifecta of 3 different player psychographics or like mental profiles. It's not saying that every person is one of them or even they're that same way forever, but they're usually some sort of like blend, and they kind of like move and change. You have the Timmy, the Johnny, and the Spike. The Timmy is the player that wants to play the game that has big, impactful moments. They want to play the giant dinosaur. They want to play like the big knight in 40K. They don't want all the little dudes. They want the giant robot thing. The Spike is the guy that wants to win on their own terms. It's more of showing the mastery. So people that like card playing games, they build a unique and creative list that does some crazy wacky combo thing. They don't really care if it has a winning percentage, but as long as they can do the thing that shows like their creativity and genius, that's the Johnny. And then the Spike is I am here to try to win, and I get enjoyment and fulfillment through playing competitively, that kind of stuff. So what you're describing there is like it's really not that crazy of an idea. It's like people are to the different psychographics and you fall into different places.
I like that. That's cool. That's fascinating.
Yeah. Sorry, a bit of a tangent.
I've never heard of this before. Yeah. What was your question? Your question was, what do I think of the 4th strategy? I think that I would probably lean more into the fuck it bucket. What about you? What do you think of them?
I think I'm probably a paradoxical mix of what you're talking about and then also strategy one, which is try to perform the best you can. I think that I've taken a very pretty standard, or what people would call the life path that was prescribed to the millennials and zoomers, which is like go to college, get a good job, work hard on yourself, that kind of stuff. And at the same time, I also do kind of like really oddball out there things, which is why I'm part of a crypto channel. Heck, I'm part of two.
Yeah. The I should throw in some clarification there. I don't think that a person really gets to earn the fuck it until they've done the hard work and they've done some faking it till they make it. Like I think that's kind of like an end of the line, not end of the line, but like you have to get there. You can't just start life from a fuck it perspective. I mean, I guess you could, but like if you don't earn it, then you're just an asshat. You know, it's like you have to do the work. You have to find the things. It's just like what he says in the book about status and about culture. If you get the status without the work, then you're vapid and you're empty. If you get the crypto riches without busting your balls and going through a shit ton of emotional craziness, and if you just win the lucky strike, then it's like nobody respects lottery winners because of their wealth. Like because they hit some magical number thing. Like that's not a respectable, like the amount of money is respectable, but the person behind it and the means by which they got it isn't respectable.
Yeah, the author actually has some good points early on about this, which
Mhm,
is like, can you be a lottery winner? Yes.
mhm,
Does that mean you're automatically of like high status, high society? The answer is no. And the answer no is not because you don't have economic prosperity. It's because you don't have anything else that signals as such. And he calls this congruence, which is to be somebody in the modern age requires accumulating significant amounts of capital across multiple criteria. That's status congruence. And the other thing is that how do you interpret, or how do you observe or try to interpret for yourself if someone has that congruence? And this is what he calls triangulation, which is the faking of individual or multiple status symbols drives people to look at the overall package of status symbols, not just an individual factor. So it's
mhm.
like, again, you could make a lot of money instantly, aka like the people that like strike it big in the oil or the gold rush, that kind of stuff, or the crypto bros that hit the meme coin that goes to a million X, or the people that win the lottery. It's like, cool, you hit one factor really hard. But the whole point of status is not to have one factor. It's more of like signaling to kind of differentiate and stratify society. This is the author's arguments, anyways. So yeah.
That's yeah. I totally agree. We have a great point here from Sam as well. You don't get to turn away 80% of or 80 of your customers until after you've convinced 100 people to buy from you. Yeah, yeah,
Well said, sir.
absolutely,
True, true.
absolutely.
Yeah. Alrighty, tell you what. We've kind of talked about a lot of this stuff. I want to take it a little higher level for you. The author argues that the status game, the hierarchy game, is the game for humans. Do you think that he's correct with this, or do you think that there's other ways to look at this? Because I would
I
argue what he's doing is single factor analysis, which
Yeah.
he's kind of trying to boil everything down to a single point, even though he's using a multitude of fields to go into it. But at the
Mhm.
same time, the main thesis of the book is that everything is status games, everything always has been and always will be.
I would agree with him to the extent that there's like two prime directives in like existence, and it's to survive and to procreate, which is just survival at a second order degree. And in order to do those two things, you need to have status, right? Like because we require other people to survive, you have to be around other people that want you to be around. So that's status, and in order to procreate, you need status. Like you can't, you can sort of kind of fake it, but like not really. That's the general idea. So I would say, yeah, everyone's, whether they know it or not, whether they're being conscious about it or not, everyone is driving towards acquiring more status. Everyone wants other people to want to be around. That's what I think. And speaking of people we want to be around, we were also joined earlier by Mr. Hexkin Lost in Asia.
Hey,
We did not miss you, broski. We want you to be around very much too, and we appreciate you joining us. What about you, Z? What do you think about statuses being the final goal? Is that accurate? Do you think?
I think that
I'd
I
give it
think
an
the answer is
80% accuracy. That's what I would say.
I would actually give it
if we're
a.
thinking in bets by Annie Oakley.
I think that the status game is not the ultimate game. I think the ultimate
It's means
game
to
is
an end.
correct. I think the ultimate game is the power game, and status is a very large player inside of the power game itself.
Yeah.
I understand that the lens that the author is looking everything through, which the way that he's laid out the logical train of thought makes sense, which is it's observable, it's verifiable, and we see that it changes, but at the same time, it sticks to relatively true principles and formulas. What I mean is that the people of high status have access to exclusive, expensive things and are granted benefits as such. In the beginning of the book, he even talks about how going back further, being of high status was not just about being granted like access and privilege, but it also came with certain responsibilities. I think that as time has moved on, those responsibilities have largely fallen away. And in fact, the author, even in the conclusion, argues that high status in moving into the future should bring back some sort of responsibility. I think that you start to see that kind of attitude be displayed a little bit when people start talking about how if you have a large follower base, you have a responsibility to not do certain things because there are maybe some crazy people out there that might take you seriously if you say like, yeah, Jeff Bezos is hoarding all the spoons. We got to liberate the spoons. And then you got to understand that like, no, some crazy person out there is going to think you're speaking literally and you have to go take back the spoons from Jeff Bezos. So like the status game makes sense.
It's a great responsibility.
True. I think the status game, as described by the author in this book, describes a lot of human behavior, but I think he does slightly gloss over some of the reasons why it exists in the first place. And I think you hit on them in particular, which is just evolutionary pressures in biologies, basically trying to like live a good life, not experience pain, and then also like procreate. Pretty much the things that humans have been optimized to do, which is avoid pain, maximize survivability, maximize procreation. And then culture and society is just the next layer on top of that. And we have optimized ways around that. So I don't think that the status game, as the author describes, is like the only thing out there. But for me, this book, spoiler alert, for me, I think this book actually kind of goes into galaxy brain for me, because this really showed me an alternative way of thinking, because he explicitly shows this view of people that have principled or kind of like lower C conservative style livings. And the way that he does that is through the chapter where he talks about the adoption curve, which is that you have like true visionaries, innovators, early adopters, late adopters, laggards. And what he was saying is that the people that are playing the status game are always consistently playing the status game, and that they rarely actually adhere to like metaphysical or philosophical principles. It's more of just like keeping up with the Joneses. But the Joneses in this case is like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk. Like if you're up there, the goal is to stay up there as opposed to find some other thing to do. So the reason I really like this book is it got me thinking about that, which is that it kind of answered a question that I've had for a long time, which sorry, I got to sneeze at some point.
Yeah, it looked like it.
The question it answers for me is, why would people not make principled arguments? And it also answered it in a way that satisfied the idea of like rational actors pursuing their own best interest, which is that if you are of high society, the rational self-interest is to stay there because you theoretically have achieved some of the highest social attaining or physical goods that are possible in human history, and you want to try to proliferate that for yourself and your next of kin. Therefore, the goal is to maintain it. One of the ways that has previously maintained it is keeping social order or the hierarchy in place. You make principled arguments, but the principled arguments don't matter to the high status people if it doesn't help them keep the high status. So I'm not like straight up calling out the author, and saying that like he doesn't believe in like principles or anything. I'm just saying for me, it provided a frame of reference that I had been looking for that really made sense. Because when I've looked at some other stuff, gosh, especially with like the Epstein files coming out, it's like how do people like this affluent like do this kind of stuff? How do you get wrapped up in this kind of stuff? Spoiler alert, I don't think Ben and I, or Will and I, are affluent at all. So we don't really like see that perspective, but to kind of like understand the rational actor perspective, which is like, yeah, sure, I guess sometimes you go to the Epstein Island because you don't want to be kicked down with the rubes. I'm
That
not
could
saying it's a
be.
good argument, but I'm seeing the argument.
I don't. Yeah, I am.
Ugh.
There's lifestyles that I don't think I'll ever understand, and I'm okay with not understanding.
Same
But
here.
I will laugh at them when they
All
get
day.
caught
All day,
doing a
every day.
silly thing. And I'm sure, like, you know, they would do the same, if or worse, to us. So, I don't feel terribly bad.
Yeah. I touched on it a bit with my bit of a soapbox there, but I think I'll go into it a little bit more,
Yeah, let's hear it.
which is the adoption curve. The adoption curve pretty much breaks down into 5 different parts. And spoiler alert, it's a bell curve. Everything's a bell curve. There you go. Pretty much.
Is it all cope, Will? Yeah, it always was.
Always has been.
Always has been.
Yeah. So the
It's all
adoption
bell curves.
There you go. So 2 standard deviations to the left, aka the early. We're looking at it at like a timeline kind of view. Early or innovators. This is less than 2.5% of all people. These are the people that are really pushing the boundaries on stuff when it comes to like fashion, art, culture, what they do, how they carry themselves, how they talk, that kind of stuff. These are people that are largely don't care about the majority of the masses. And they're innovating. They're always trying to push the edge. After that, you have early adopters. Early adopters are people that look at the innovators and then kind of like pick and choose what they like from them and then help set the trend and create it. Once you get through early adopters, that's pretty much what you call critical mass, because there's a lot of trends and stuff out there that come from the innovators and never catch on. It's once they're kind of adopted by the early adopters, then you have this critical mass of people that are doing a thing and are people that people want to copy. So you could argue that early adopters really are that like high society, high status kind of person. And there's actually different explanations for the innovators as well. We'll get to those later. But after that, you have early majority. I would argue these are maybe the terminally online people, the constantly status-seeking people, the constantly attention-seeking people that are trying to imitate and copy people of high status.
People
In
that
the book,
do crypto podcasts, perhaps.
I would actually argue no. What the
We're
authors
safe, everybody. We're
I'm
good.
not saying we're
golden.
safe, but I don't think
We're-
that this is a description of us. What this is a description of is the professional class, actually. It is like the ladder climbers, the corporate grinders, those kind of folks. Or
the Mr. Beast.
Mr. Beast would not fall into this one, but people that are trying to copy Mr. Beast, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Mr. Beast is definitely innovator.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I forgot you're going through the S curve. Yeah,
true. But the it's like, God, what did I say? Productive class. It's like white collar, like corporate climbers, those kind of folks. Then after that, you have late adopters. This is kind of like more normies. And then after that, we're on the other tail end of the bell curve. These are the laggards, the people that may never even adopt the trend in the first place or the thing, or the people that are the last ones to it. And notably, when the laggards get to it, in the sense of like fashion, as we talk about later in the book, that's when that stuff dies. It's just like, oh, those people are doing it now. Yeah, this thing's dead. We gotta, pull the cord, cut the chute. We out. Yeah. So back to the analogy here. It's not us. It's all those other girls. Exactly, Sam. Precisely. That's right. I'm different. I'm unique.
I'm special.
Hey, to I guess to give Sam a little bit more of a shout out there. The author of the book actually does explicitly call out sorority girls. He was like, yeah, there was a case where some sorority girl got abducted or went missing or something. And they were like, can you give it
It was an Onion article.
Oh, that's what it was? I thought the author said it was an Onion article that later turned out to be also true.
Oh, what? Okay.
The article, though, was
for
like...
folks at home who don't know what this is, can you give a quick little elevator pitch?
So of the Onion or the story?
The whole thing.
All right. So the story is that it came out from the Onion, which is a satire website. They write things that seem very absurd, but the great irony is that usually they're always a few years behind. The story that they wrote was like, sorority girl goes missing in town. When provided with a description, they had literally 10,000 other people that matched the exact description of like fake blonde Ugg boots,
blonde highlighted hair, Ugg boots, purple jacket, designer bag, yoga pants. And it was like, fuck, you just described like every single sorority girl in the entire area, and it's like, well,
Yeah, but the real irony in that people poke fun at is that the other thing that fits right into that persona is the saying, "I'm not like other girls,"
oh yeah.
even though they're exactly like
This
the
is
other
literally the
girls.
whole thing. It's like,
Literally
yeah,
carbon copies.
I am like all the
Yeah.
other girls.
Which, by the way, that is a whole phenomenon of a status, which is people trying to fit into the group or trying to maintain high status of being in a sorority by matching certain standards and not deviating from them. Which
Yeah. You
also
say the
covered
same
in the
thing
book.
about like, yeah, men in the military, same fucking thing. You know, all wearing the same uniform, all doing the like. It's not. It's different reasons. You know, it's like you're
Yes,
required to wear the uniform, but you want to be in the thing that everyone's doing the stuff. You know,
true.
similar principle, different application, yada yada. Anyways, continue with your thought before we
Yeah. So
sidetrack.
the adoption curve. High status is largely associated with early adopters, not innovators, not majority at all, but early adopters. And the way that it really comes out is through fashion trends and stuff like that, which are the cyclical items that come and go. They're the people that adopt it. People try to emulate it. By the time that everyone else has emulated it, they're already on to the next thing. The reason they're on to the next thing is to signify the status or keep it as a differentiation point between the other folks there. So it's to tie it back in with the kind of the point I was making before this, the soapbox, which is that it's another way of thinking because you're trying to keep the distinction. If you can keep the distinction, then you will be one step ahead of the competition. And if you're able to keep ahead of the competition and you're good at it, there's kind of no reason to ever stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just always got to pummel your opposition. And that's why, you know, it's lonely up at the top, is because everyone, the only way they get there is they just fight, outcompete, outwork. You know, it's a lot of effort. It's a lot of investment, a lot of maybe not cutthroating, but takes a lot. That's all.
That it does. Tell you what, let's take a break real quick. We got some good chats I want to shout out here.
Let's do it. Let's fucking get to those juicy chat motherfucking shoutouts.
Moonpill coming in here. He said I posted that. I'm pretty sure he's referring to the Onion article there. Thank you, sir, for providing our source material. Appreciate you doing that work for us. Sam is also saying that's why you just date the hottest sorority. You just get the hottest sorority girl to date you, so all the other ones will follow.
Yep.
Social proof and social signaling. Yep, that also is very much that. Moonpill had another one earlier. I think I was talking about why do we play the game? And he's like, yeah, whatever he's talking about, some things never change. Thank you for putting many words into fewer words and make it sound a lot better. That was a much better explanation than what I did, probably. True. Moonpill also had he's like, oh, so Mark, so he's a communist? He's like, I didn't know that. Just makes the joke even better.
Yep.
He's like, here we go. Like another Marx that advocate for social fairness and end up making capitalist money. Yeah. That was an odd subcurrent of the book as well, which is like the idea of capitalism. And there was a bit of, it's odd because I thought the author actually did a pretty decent job when it came to this point of like showing that there are people that are all about capitalism. There are people that are trying to outright reject capitalism, but at the end of the day, they're all kind of part of the same capitalist model. This is where you got into the cultures and countercultures.
Yeah, it's all campfire stories, man. I have a quick little share screen that I want to pull up on the subject of the author. If Fast Abdul is still here in the chats, say hello to your cousin Broski, because W. David Marks looks like, you know, he's got like a 40 to 60% look-alike with our homie Fast Abdul, like the same, you know, generic-ish face structure, the gray hair, the comb over. When I saw this, I was like, that fuzzy picture looks like Fast Abdul. That's hilarious. So shout out to Fast Abdul.
The top row, third one in, that jacket with the collar slightly popped.
Yep.
I could have sworn I've seen Fast Abdul wearing like a similar jacket before.
Yeah. And you know, it would make sense being up in the frozen tundras of the icicle box where he lives. That would be the way to dress. By
the way, shout out to Fast Abdul. I think the guy, he hits this book on the head in a lot of different aspects. Number one, I think he's got some good classic style.
Mm-hmm.
And then number two, the guy also understands like branding and a little bit of the trying to appeal to high status, but also more it's like the attention economy. I'd argue Fast is one of the best guys at that.
Oh yeah,
always keeps it interesting.
Yeah, I don't know how we got Fast Abdul into Pulse Chain, but however you got in here, broski, thank you for joining. That's fucking awesome, and glad to call you a fellow degen and Pulse Chain or Hexagon, whatever. It's awesome.
True.
Awesome. All right. Oh, segue. No one ever thought Carhartt and Champion would be in vogue. I don't know what Vogue means.
Vogue is a
magazine.
Vogue is a magazine, but also being in vogue is kind of like a cultural term for like being trendy or like the current fashion.
I do wear Carhartts. I do wear work jackets for different reasons, probably. A little bit more tattered and oily.
A little more used, if you will.
A little bit more used, yeah.
But that's actually a great segue there, because I wanted to ask you, what do you think about the fashion chapter? Namely, how it's very.
I thought that your quote, so the quote that you had, Zenith, and let me go ahead and pull it up here because we haven't got to it yet. Art produces ugly things that become beautiful with time. Fashion creates beautiful things that become ugly with time. And I thought that was absolutely hilarious. I don't remember much about the fashion chapter. I must have like glossed through that while I was doing something today. But I thought that quote itself was quite amusing because it shows you, like, you know, the two not parallels, but the two perpendicular things, you know, where it's like art starts off as something no one cares about, and then everyone's like, oh, that's actually really fucking cool later on. Whereas fashion, it's like, oh, we love this now, and then, you know, 3 months from now, it's like, the fuck is Lady Gaga wearing a meat dress? Like, what is this? What is this madness? You know?
Yeah, that's an example of the innovators there, where not all the trends catch on.
Yeah, and you know, thank God for that, I suppose. But somebody's got to wear these meat dresses, and it ain't gonna be me. So it's a good thing we got Lady Gaga on our team to take that bullet for us.
Yeah, thanks for putting it out there. I'm not wearing it. Not even happy you're wearing it, but we know what doesn't work now.
Yeah, we got Mr. Hexdeck saying I dress more like the guy next door. So there you go. Yeah, dressing like the guy next door is, you know, not a bad idea. Having the ability to blend into any crowd is pretty useful. If you can be sporty, if you can be, you know, like athletic sporty, you know, basketball shorts and a t-shirt, like if you could wear a polo and some slacks, like if you can get a suit on, if you can do all of the things to be able to fit in, like not necessarily to conform, but to not stand out in most scenarios, then you'll be all right.
There's another author that we've covered on here that talks about something similar. Shout out to Moonpill. I'm pretty sure he's talked about this as well. But Aaron Clary, aka Cappy, the Spike Spiegel wardrobe, which is you just get like 5 black t-shirts and 2 pairs of identical jeans and a good leather jacket, and that's all you'll ever need.
Yeah, I mean, there's something to that. That is a look. It's very simple, very easy.
That's true. Arky's coming in here. Good to see you, by the way. They say the meat dress didn't work, or it did work. We're still talking about it now. I would argue, yes, we're still talking about it. However, I think the idea of doing stuff like that was maybe an attempt to try to be the social signal, as like the book is talking about, and it's one of the ones that just never caught on.
Yeah.
And by the way,
the marketing worked.
The marketing absolutely worked. Yes.
The meat dress as clothing, I guess it worked for a period of time. That's one of those clothes that you have to throw away after a certain number of wearings, that you can't just kind of put it in the washing machine. Unless you have the washing machine up above 180 degrees Fahrenheit, and then you cook the meat dress so it keeps longer. They have a well done steak dress.
It's a bit odd, but yeah.
Yeah, we are still talking about it. So it did work from the marketing and the catching of the mind virus perspective. So absolutely, very very well done. But like, you know, so does like killing the president. It doesn't mean it's a good idea, but it's a means to an end. And I think that employing the idea of wearing a meat dress to make a statement, it's like very useful. Now, does anyone remember what the statement is? Nope, but they do remember the meat dress. They remember the meat dress. So perhaps they'll go and look up the statement. Maybe she needed to tie the statement into, maybe it was something about vegetarianism or global warming probably. I don't entirely know, but
I
it
can't
did
remember.
partially work.
I think the author would actually have a good bit to say about the meat dress in particular, though, because the author's description of like artists and visionaries and how they fit in with high society is a very unique relationship. Because what the guy argues is that the aspiration of all artists is pretty much to become high society through their creativity, their genius, their whatever. There's tons of them, very few will ever make it. And what they do as an artist is really try to push boundaries to try to make people see new things or experience new things more in particular. And then the high status folks try to look at these people. They don't have economic capital, they don't have title capital. What they really have is the network capital, which is that they kind of run in the circle with the high status folks, and the high status folks look at these like people that they deem as like visionaries or creating something good, or not good, but unique and new, and like kind of like trend or taste setting. Then they incorporate them, but they always kind of view the artist as like this min-maxed kind of like build, which is that you're you're typically young, typically don't have a lot going for you, and you're really swinging for the fences on everything you do. And is this borderline between madness and genius that really gets you there and will ultimately be adopted by high society, that kind of gets you that ticket in, which is like, look, are you going to be making a lot of money? No. Are you going to get invited to the cool parties and the cool places and probably not have to pay for it? The answer is yes.
I think that reminds me, what you're talking about, the young dudes swinging wild for the fences. It reminded me of like part of the book where it's like only old people and young people take crazy risks, and old people it's because they can afford to and don't give a shit, and then young people it's because they have nothing to lose. And so it's like you'll see that, and I can't remember what part of the book that was, but that was just a quick little aside I wanted to mention.
That's fair enough. Tell you what, we got 2 chats here. Do you mind hitting those? I got to get a refill real quick.
Yes. So we've got Mr. Moonpilled Rational Optics has rolled on up here saying, the old dirty Carhartt jacket my brother has owned for years is now worth between $300 and $500. That's interesting. You know what's funny about things being worth something is it only matters when there's liquidity. So that's the market cap of your Carhartt jacket. Now, what's the liquidity? What's the number of people that actually want to buy that Carhartt jacket? That's a problem. That's a problem to think about. You know, like if someone says my jacket is worth this much, they're talking about market cap. Now, when you actually get the sale to start transacting and processing, now we're talking liquidity. So it might be worth 300 to 500, but you're probably not going to be able to sell it for more than 100 or 200. And in like part of that process is finding a buyer and then convincing that buyer to buy the thing. So that's a whole skill set all of itself, to be able to market something, to be able to sell it, to be able to find the buyer. You know, just because a person has something that's worth something doesn't mean that they're going to be able to extract the worth from that item, which is why cryptocurrency is fantastic, is because it's a thing that everybody like wants and is in a place, and you have sovereignty and you have control right now. You don't have to wait for the SP or for the Chicago Mercantile Exchange to open up at 8 a.m. Monday through Friday. You know, you don't have to. You got 24/7 access to it. There is like a public structuring smart contract that will tell you what the price is right now, what the price will be if X, Y, and Z number of people buy or sell. You know, they tell you how much liquidity is up, yada yada yada. Like crypto is, as far as like being an asset class that can be moved back and forth, up and down, left to right, like the speed is unparalleled, the liquidity capability is unparalleled. Now the numbers might not be there, but that's all neither here nor there. But these are things to think about whenever a person mentions, oh, I own this thing and it's worth this much. It's like if you have 2 bars of gold and it's worth, we'll say 10 grand, because gold is 5,000, right? Per bar. I don't know what a bar weighs, but let's say you have 2 bars of gold and it's worth 10 grand. It's like, okay, try and get 10 grand out of that 2 bars of gold. You can't just go to Walmart and get 10 grand worth of, corn dogs for these bars of gold. You can't just go to your local gold smelting office and be like, all right, I've got my 2 bars, $10,000, please. They're gonna be like, no, we need to take a write off. We need to take our thing, because now we have to process it and we have to prove that it is what you say it is, yada yada yada. So liquidity, market cap, it applies to real world items, and then the human capital that is the process of selling, finding a buyer, creating the transaction and getting him to transfer the money or the currency or whatever over. So these are all things that go into consideration for value. So I'm sorry, Moonpill, I didn't mean to throw that all over there at you, but yeah, this is what I think of whenever people say like, hey, I have this thing that's worth this much. It's like, oh, that's the market cap. That's not the liquidity. And so it's just a fun little whatever. Then we got Arceus updating us. It wasn't intended to be practical casual wear. I certainly fucking hope not. It was just to be weird and get attention. But maybe it could be practical. Today it's a dress, tonight it's dinner. Yeah, that would be interesting. Now I'm picturing Lady Gaga naked just eating a fucking dress, and it's just like, well, I don't know how we got into this scenario. But
That's a thought, all right.
There is a thought right there. Next,
Just
we've
drop a
got
link in the
Moonpill.
chat.
Oh, dropped a link in the chat. Have you taken a look at it?
I've not.
You don't have to look at it now. Oh, well, you're telling us about it now, Mr. Moonpill Rational Optics, that you have dropped a link and all sorts of stuff. I see, Zenith, that you have pulled up a what looks like an Asian feller in
Yes. So Instagram reel number 2 that slightly inspired me to look at this book.
This is a valid point though. I'll tie up the jacket thought here. My point with what would normally be a worthless jacket is now a vintage fashion item. So absolutely right. That's a great point right over there. Ignore my my cynical ranting and things. Z, go ahead and take it the direction you wanted to take it, broski.
True. Alrighty. Here we go. Topic that I want to kind of move towards. I think this one's a little applicable to the internet chapter. Wanted to get your thoughts on it. So here we go.
The elite is always shifting, but the goal remains to keep you up. Throughout my series on French sociologist Pierre Bourdieu, we've revealed in detail about how the elite use taste to distinguish themselves from regular folk. And in the comments, I was suggested by many people credentialed in the sociology space to look into the concept of cultural omnivorism by American sociologist Richard Peterson. Well, I looked into it, and boy, do I have a lot to share with you. So what is cultural omnivorism? Well, the concept emerged in the 90s when Peterson noticed a shift in how the upper class interact with culture. The old stories was they consumed highbrow culture like the opera and classical music, while the masses consumed lowbrow, country music, pop. But what Peterson found was that high-status Americans were becoming increasingly eclectic. They didn't just attend the symphony, they also liked bluegrass and rock. Meanwhile, lower status groups tended to be univores, consuming a narrower band of genres, often within popular culture. So I'm incredibly selective with the kinds of theory that I choose to share on this page, so as to not confuse everyone. But I see this as a modern evolution to the foundation that we built with Bourdieu. With Bourdieu, or the old model, the upper class drink Bordeaux or Burgundy, while the working class drink beer. A clear hierarchy. But in the omnivore evolution, the upper class still drink Bordeaux, but they also drink natural wine from Slovenia, orange wine from Georgia. They may even go to a dive bar. But don't think of this as rejecting the hierarchy, but rather adding layers to it. The new distinction becomes, I can move between worlds, and I know which lowbrow things are actually cool. The working class and petite bourgeoisie may drink the same natural wine, but they don't have the contextual knowledge to frame it properly. They don't know it's part of a movement against industrial winemaking. They don't have the vocabulary. So even when they consume the same object, their relationship to it is different. Peterson called this a shift from snob to omnivore. But why did this shift happen? Well, for many reasons, as Peterson and his collaborators proposed. But there were two theories that stood out to me. First is the expansion of higher education. In the mid-20th century, more people went to college, and there they learned about art, music, and literature. This meant high culture lost some of its utility as a boundary marker. The upper class then needed a new way to distinguish themselves. Thus, instead of just knowing high culture, they knew everything, and sheer range became the new signal of sophistication. The second reason for the shift was the rise of tolerance as an elite value. Post-1960s, especially in liberal educated circles, cosmopolitanism and openness became elite virtues. They had to perform cultural openness to signal their worldliness and moral superiority. Saying, I only like classical music made you sound rigid and out of touch. But saying, I love everything from bluegrass to folk to French pop to Afrobeat made you sound cultured and traveled and intellectually curious. Now, this is just the beginning of the concept of omnivorism. And in future videos, I plan on talking about how the elite still find ways to maintain distinction while consuming the same things as everyone else. So if you want that, please like and follow and let me know what you think in the comments. The taste.
All right, there you go. Mason, Mason Ricky.
My stand-up desk turned on the light. There we go.
Cultural omnivorism, aka things that were separated for different classes now are consumed by everybody. I think
the whole thing just sounds pretentious as fuck to me. That's my opening to that.
I am not surprised by that sentiment at all, sir.
Yeah.
But are you surprised that this is an idea that's becoming popularized? And I say that because I think this is something we've seen definitely with the internet, which is that before internet, everything came out on TV. Pretty much everything had to be consumed live, and if you're lucky, you could catch a specific rerun on like a Saturday or Sunday, or check the TV guide and see if it was there. Now that we have the internet, everything has exploded from content creation. So there are tons and tons of niches, and even inside of the mainstream, I think the author cited a fact that like Game of Thrones was one of the most popular TV or like just content series of probably the last decade, but at max, like 10% of the population actually watched the whole thing.
Yeah. I do remember that statistic. It was not a whole lot of people in the States.
Yeah. So does it make sense that because we don't really have like any singular points, because the internet has made everything so dispersed, that when it comes to trying to attain status, it's no longer trying to attain specific things, similar to that first reel that we watched, which is due to the internet as well. All those things that were previously exclusive and like kind of like hidden and unknown, everyone knows them now and everyone's making videos about them. So the answer to it was no longer having access to specific things, but rather like contextual knowledge of many things. Does that make sense as like the new status game?
Like a jack of all trades,
Like, you know what?
instead of a master of one.
It's kind of jack of all trades, but it's going even a layer deeper than that. It's saying that you could even argue it's the idea that because knowledge and access has become so much easier, the bar has raised even higher, which is you no longer have to have access to specific things because everything can access them. You now have to have deep contextual knowledge of way more things.
Yeah.
I think there's a competing narrative, which is like you could argue that maybe even achieving high status is just going super hard into a niche. Which of those do you think?
I
makes more
mean,
sense?
you know, I got a great example of this. Henry Cavill, Warhammer. That man has status in the Warhammer world because he goes super hard into the learning of it. And is that the sort of kind of like people who know a lot about a thing are the ones that are the cool kids in the cool kids club?
Kind of, but it's more of like
Okay.
if you could go to the speakeasy because like you knew the password, you knew where it was located, you were part of that thing. But now I can just go on my phone and look up speakeasies, and there's all kinds of speakeasy bars near me. Or even like think about like a nightclub. Like you can either get a VIP table at a nightclub by being a celebrity, or you can get like 5 of your homies together. You're like, all right, we're doing a night out thing. We're going to kind of splurge a little bit, but we're going to like split the table costs and do it that way. It's no longer the same thing that it used to be.
Yeah.
By the way, for your Henry Cavill example, I think that the status with that is actually more of an authenticity argument, which is like Henry Cavill is like movie superstar, Giga Chad looking, built dude, well-spoken, well-read, highly successful. But at the same time, the fact that he still plays Warhammer and hand paints all his stuff and knows the lore, which, by the way, if you know 40K lore, it is massive.
That's a commitment. That's a commitment. And like having the authenticity in addition to the knowledge gives him like the if a person's like, yeah, I play Warhammer, but they don't have like if they're not like in it and deep in it, then they don't like you can respect someone for being truthful, but like respecting them for being truthful and having done the work and retention of the work and then the ability to prove that and then shut down money opportunity when they fuck it up a little bit, just a little bit, or several times. I think he turned down the script because there was 3 problems in it or something.
I think this actually goes both ways. So from the high society angle, I think the fact that like he is a movie star, he is wealthy, he is built, he is jacked, he probably dates supermodels. I don't know. He might be married. But the fact that he still has that like very authentic side of like who he was, and he also has these interests that are unique to him. He doesn't care about 40K because like other rich people care about 40K. He cares about it because he cares about it and like he likes it, enjoys it. Yeah. And I think that authenticity grants even more to the high status thing. But also, I think that from like the nerd culture perspective, it also grants status
Genuine,
inside
not
of
pretentious.
Yeah, I think it grants status inside of the subculture as well, because it shows that like, is this someone that is actually of the culture, or are they using your culture? I think this is like honestly a really good example of like sub and counterculture, because like he is a rich guy, but the 40K community loves him. And by the way, the average 40K person is not exactly the spitting image of Henry Cavill, but they still love the guy because he shows that I have all these other things about me, but I care about this subculture because I care about the subculture, not because I'm trying to utilize it. And there's the authenticity that goes that way too.
Yes. Where was it in our Degen Roundtable shill group? Somebody was calling to go and interact with some fucking bimbo Twitter profile that was like, "Hey, Pulse Chain, should I talk about you guys?" And then every fucking Hexagon was simping in the comments, be like, "Yes, yes, talk about Hexico, talk about Pulse Chain, talk about Richard Hart." And it's like, no, this is a person that's trying to extract from our community and use us as like audience farming. Have some goddamn self-respect and like interact with people who want to interact with you for genuine reasons, not because you're a fucking like energy vampire or something, you know. Or not you, the Pulse Chain, but like the person who was like, "Hey guys," and you know, her fucking like tits are out all over the place. There's cleavage. She's a beautiful woman on Twitter. Don't get me wrong, but like when people show up with these types of questions and these types of bait, they are extractors. They are not people who are there to make you better. They're not there saying, "Hey, here I am, hat in my hand, coming to your place to be like, I would like to learn about your stuff because I think that it's pretty cool and awesome." It's like, "Hey guys, can I get some likes and reshares and like in interaction and engagement?" And you know, it's like, no, this is meaningless fluff. This is the lack of authenticity that everyone is super duper like tired of, and that's why everyone loves the real people and the folks like Henry Cavill that, you know, stick to his guns and knows the things and isn't there to try and pull things from a group of people or from a brand or from an identity. He's there to make it like Henry Cavill is there to make Warhammer better while enjoying Warhammer. And that's a perfectly beautifully selfish thing to do, you know, as opposed to like, because like you can be selfish and also in servitude of others. But if you're selfish and you're taking away from others, then it's like that's a problem. So I just wanted to contrast that with an example that I had seen earlier today, and I'm like, it was in our Degen Roundtable Telegram, and I'm like, get this fucking vampire out of here, baby! Stop fucking talking. And
by the way, that's the reason why we don't really like the Instagram hose, but we love Tam Tam, because Tam Tam is the Henry Cavill example here. Is she a very nice, I would argue, conventionally attractive lady? Does she do a lot of kind of like the social media stuff for Pulse Chain? Absolutely. But the difference is she is there to genuinely make Pulse Chain better. She's not just there for attention and likes and retweets.
Correct. And here's the other thing is that's a very tempting road to follow down or to go down. And it happens to, like, the unfortunate truth is it happens to a lot of women on the internet because the amount of attention and validation that can be, you know, expressed is astronomical, in the number of things to get those attentions is like there's some very effective, simple to play moves that have some very long lasting consequences that can be done to get all that sort of stuff. And so, yeah, that's a great example. Tam is not here to extract from Pulse Chain. Tam is here because she believes in the product, and you know, she believes in the people, and she believes in the community, and she believes in all the stuff. She's not here to extract. She is here to build and here to grow and here to create. So, like,
to bring it back to the book, by the way, this is the difference between strategy 1 and 2: the work and earn it, or the try to fake it till you make it. Then hopefully just your new foundation is the stuff that you got when you faked it. It's look, is Instagram new? Yes. Is this what the author is saying is kind of a strategy old as time? Also, yeah.
Oh, fuck, dude. We've been joined by battle-hardened Sniper, the Ninja Watcher. Oh, my God. And
one.
Here
Speaking
is
of which,
another one.
he says, don't forget to donate to my charity, ...
Thank you, Battle Hardened Sniper. Shout out to Battle Hardened Sniper, the fucking best and most consistent DJ. And I believe that Battle Hardened Sniper has watched and contributed and participated ninja style in more shows than any other fucking DJ, including all of the founding members of the DGen Roundtable family. So shout out to you, Battle Hardened Sniper. It is very rare that we see him in the chat. So this is most fantastic. And he brings up another good point. There was another gentleman that I was sort of kind of mocking in the Shills chat. And, you know, I love the Shills chat because it gives me the opportunity to just fucking rip into people that I think are doing uncalibrated things. And it is the place to do uncalibrated things. We purposefully built a place for people to go and shill their bullshit products. And then I get to just go ham. And it's super fun. But yeah, there's a gentleman in there that's like, hey, guys, if you want to buy a token, you should do it using my referral link so that way I get a tax and that way it goes to my charity. And that way, like, and it's like, I mean, I love the dude. I love the dude that posted the link. He's a good real life friend of mine and he's a very genuine person, but I think that like his request is pretty fucking uncalibrated. So if you're watching this, I'm not going to name you. I'm not going to say the token. I'm not going to do any of that stuff because I respect you as a person. I don't necessarily respect all of the actions that you take, but thank you, Battle Hardened Sniper, for bringing that up, good sir. It is good to see, and that's a fantastic one as well. It's like, yeah, if you want people to do things, then it behooves you to help them to do things, as opposed to like, hey, I want you to do this thing, and also when you do this thing, it's gonna make my life better at a cost to you. So instead of you getting 100% transaction for 100% receipt, you're now doing 100% transaction and you're receiving 90% of what you would, and I get the other 10. It's like it's usury. It's middlemaning. It's taxing on top of things unnecessarily, and it's like there's a time and a place where that is appropriate, and just kind of like throwing it out into a community, not so much. So the person who did this is not a bad person, but the action is not necessarily a good action. I think that that's a good distinction that people ought to make, is like, good people will sometimes do silly things, and we don't condemn the people, we condemn the action. Unless the people do the actions over and over and over again, and then it's like, oh, you're a person that does a repeated action, then it's like, okay, I have to put you in your box where you belong, But like if I like accidentally cut my thumb off tomorrow, then I'm not an idiot. I'm just a guy who made a mistake and chopped my thumb off. It's you can judge an action and everything will be fantastic. But if you like judge a person that does the action, then it's like now you're creating a man. I can't put my thoughts into great words. It's better to judge actions and to describe actions than it is to describe and put negative connotations onto people. That's how you can get better teaching exercises, and that's how you can build better relationships. So just some thoughts there. Zenith, take chat shoutouts for a minute because I've been monologuing here.
Gotcha. Well, we're actually just going to get back to the book on this one instead. We got a few more chats, but we'll save them for our final chat shout out.
Okay.
I wanted to get your thoughts on the idea of kitsch. Kitsch, as described by the book, is, you could argue the modern term for this is slop, as used in the 2026 concept, but it's pretty much, kitsch is the thing that is derived from the imitation of high status. It is now, I would argue, it's kind of the idea of like the Gucci bag or whatever, which is what was formerly once a status of high society because it was so expensive and exclusive, is now found its way to the masses, and people are trying to compete over that kind of stuff. Another example of this,
I have a definition if you'd like.
Yeah, go for it.
Naive imitation, overly eccentric, gratuitous, or of banal taste. So like when a poor person tries to create a beautiful vaulted ceiling by just putting a ridiculous amount of details into something, but they do like a mediocre job, and it's not serious craftsmanship. It's an imitation, and not a very good one. So
yeah,
naive imitation is a good way to describe kitsch.
Yeah, some of the
KITSCH, right?
There you go. I believe so. Yeah, okay. Some of the examples the author gave of a kitsch are like kind of the imitations of high society or things that once were notable of high society. In the modern age, it's kind of almost like more mass consumption stuff. It's like pop music, it's fads and trends that you see in houses and stuff like that. And then it's also the things that people like buy and use on a daily basis to try to signal like being part of an in-group, that kind of stuff. Do you think that the relationship that we have with the author's idea of like kitsch kind of stuff has changed from his research? I would argue is largely a lot of pre-internet stuff, but now that we are in the internet age, do you think our relationship with it has changed? I guess what I'm saying is physical items, music, trends, that kind of stuff. You'd even argue that hobbies kind of fall into this as well, because I think that later on in the book, the author argues that there kind of was a rejection of, there kind of was kitsch when proliferated to the masses was a thing that people like sometimes used to feign high status. But in modern times, it's more of this attitude of like, no, we actually like this stuff. Screw you. We want it. We want more of it.
Well, I mean, hey, like with the dawning of the internet, more people are living in the, oh well, fuck you, I don't care realm. So there's a lot less judgment because you can find a lot more validation from a lot more social circles. Like if you just had a whole bunch of one of the examples in the Wikipedia is like a very fancy wooden ship that has a clock on it. The purpose of this like big ornate wooden ship is a clock, and it's supposed to be like, oh, look at this fancy thing, and it's like, it's a fucking wooden ship with a clock on it, and it's very fancy and extravagant, and it's like it's a clock, as opposed to just like an art piece, or like
it's not the original nautical chronometer purposely used to keep time on a ship because it was a necessary function of navigation.
Yeah.
It's instead, old ship has clock. Yes.
But I'm sorry, Z. What was your question again?
Do you think the relationship with kind of like the consumption of kitsch or popular culture has changed? Because it shifted from the thing that people were using to aspire to high society to people now, I think, having an understanding that like this was inspired by high society, but like the masses kind of actually just like genuinely enjoy it.
I mean, yeah, and like what even is enjoyment? Like people will convince themselves they enjoy many things.
Well, people in society used to convince themselves they enjoyed certain things purely for the purpose of signaling. But I think that what the author was highlighting in the internet chapter was that there's kind of been a shift in attitude, which is people like going from like, oh, they're just trying to be rich, to people are like, yeah, sure, this is appealing to a luxury appeal, as we referenced in our first Instagram reel video we watched, which is like they're trying to appeal to like the luxury brand. Is it true luxury? No. Do people know that it's not true luxury? I think kind of yes.
Yeah, and it becomes more acceptable the more calibrated, the more authentic it is. So it's like, oh yeah, I know it's fucking cheap and clunky and fucking kitschy and whatever, and I fucking like it anyway, so fuck you. And I think that that's more attractive than like the, oh yeah, look at my fabulous house and my wall full of decorations over here. It's like just fucking these kitschy things.
If anything, I think that the people that understand what luxury, the context of that is for like goods and apartments and services and stuff in today's aspect, the people that like understand it going in, I think feel better about it than what I think kind of the critique in the modern times is, which is like, this is advertised as luxury, but I'm still opening a menu on a QR code on my phone. How is that luxury? Why is the waiter not bringing me a menu? That kind of stuff.
I don't like those.
I'm not a QR code guy either. I'd much rather just have the menu.
I like how QR codes can be used. I don't like being forced to use one.
There we go.
That doesn't please me.
That's true. Tell you what though, I do have kind of one bigger question here for you at the end, which is we've covered a lot of like, how have we used status and signaling in the past? How do we use it now? I want to ask, do you think that it's actually been beneficial to kind of the betterment of like human encounters, interactions, or even society at large? Do you think there was a point where it's useful, and do you think there was a point where we kind of jumped the shark and it's now just not useful?
The thing being the culture and
the pursuit of status and kind of like
status.
Yeah.
I think that it probably served a much more survival, very, very real in terms of the value that it directly brought to, does human die? Does human live? I think that it used to be more value because it was directly tied and correlated to that, and now it's mostly probably pomp and circumstance. I think probably now it's more um it's so many orders of degree removed from a person's ability to survive that it's like it's not of the same value. So it has changed. Um, is it more useful? I would say that there's more that can be done with it. So we no longer have just a knife. We now have a Swiss Army ultimate pocket knife that can do a bazillion, trillion, trillion things. Was that kind of what you were asking?
Yeah. Well, I think you attacked it from a different angle than I think I did for this question.
Oh,
So
what are your thoughts?
I think that for I think the answer is yes and no at pretty much a lot of times in human society. I think that it accelerated more towards the no, it's not useful side, more in the 20th century. I think that we can look back at a lot of like really old societies and be like, having the differentiation in status came with responsibilities attached. And during that time, like I'm talking like early 1300s, that kind of stuff. Like Catholic Church was at its heights. It really was the thing that was pioneering science at the time, and also creating a lot of what we would argue are fine arts today. I think that as we got more later on towards kind of like post-industrial age, we kind of started to see that it was more about consumption, which I would argue would still have some degree when it came to usefulness, when it came to like people trying to like network with other folks. But I think that it really hit a tipping point once we got out of World War II. And I think that, again, like if you listen to me and you listen to the books that we read, it would argue that time kind of like really fractured around that time period. But the reason I say it became less useful, I'm specifically looking at like works of art and whatnot, which is that it stopped really being about conveying, like even progressing the medium of art in itself. You can see the progression of like literally humans just getting better at art and like understanding like how light works with objects and surfaces, how to better draw people, that kind of stuff. And then when you start getting into the abstract movement, I would argue there is still some utility there, which is like the idea to convey abstract ideas and thoughts and kind of get into the world of like things that are hard to imagine, but someone else was able to imagine something new. And now that I have seen it, I can also imagine new things as a context for that. But the book really talked about, there was kind of the keeping up with the Joneses, or rather keeping out the peasants, if you will, when it came to art, which is that the art really became more about shock factor. And there, instead of seeing natural progression like what we saw in the art movement, we saw instead the shift to more pendulum style progression, which is that you were trying to shock and awe away from what was accepted at the time. And then what was acceptable shifted more towards that. And then you would go the exact opposite direction. The same thing kind of came out in fashion, which is that fashion for a while pursued it followed what people of high status were doing, which was kind of like rich people sport, or you could even argue the pursuit and advancement of sport, technology, experience, that kind of stuff. So you would actually get stuff like the Carhartt phenomena, where it was like this stuff became popular because the rich people used it for the weird, crazy, eclectic things they were doing, but that also was progressing high society. Once that fashions trend kind of shifted away from, I am like, people are following the rich people stuff because the rich people stuff were using it for actual purpose. And instead, now the rich people are just pursuing fashion for pure distinction. I think that's where it loses a lot of its usefulness as well. And I think that in the internet age in particular, even like culture, or I guess media for like entertainment and enjoyment, you could argue that since the internet came out, we've really seen just a devolvement of people like taking risks and pursuing things, and just a regurgitation over and over. So it's now that it's kind of like, even with the omnivore kind of diet for culture, it's not even producing things that are good or useful anymore. I would argue it's more about kind of pursuing things that are just like different and edgy for the sake of being edgy, or I'm edgier than the last edgelord, that kind of stuff. Every once in a while, we do kind of get those diamonds in the rough, but I think at large, it's the status game has devolved due to post scarcity, which is that because things are no longer hard, things are now pretty much like you do it for the sake of differentiation. The one benefit I will say is the tech sector. And I think that this is more a capitalist point instead of a culture point, which is that the high society people were always trying to pursue the coolest, most bleeding edge technology. And out of that, you saw other people want that kind of stuff as well. And now, due to an increase in demand, it means that they're able to create more of the high tech stuff and disseminate it to the masses. This is why I think when you look at the inflation prices and the graph saying what has gone up, what has gotten cheaper over time, the things that are scarce, like resources, food, energy, that stuff always keeps seeming to inflate. But technology is the thing that seems to deflate. And I know that even in the current status games of like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk fighting over the rocket wars and who is the coolest rocket. And I think, by the way, the running joke is that Jeff Bezos is like the uncool billionaire, which is like he has a rocket too, but it kind of shaped like a dick and everyone makes fun of him for it.
I will say Jeff Bezos is the fit billionaire.
He was not the first one, though. That was also another interesting point by the book, which is that as things became harder to differentiate, you went from like rich people being fat, showing that they had a lot of access to food, and then I want to say it was potatoes and starches was the big differentiator.
Yeah.
And then now even the normal people can get fat and happy by eating too many potato chips. Then they shifted to like, no, I'm gonna signal status by being jacked and showing dedication and wealth through health, that kind of stuff. But back to the point, the technology one, I think that is possibly one of the last useful outcomes of the kind of like the status competition, as the author describes it, which is that the status game through technology has really been able to allow people to have greater demand for an object. Therefore, people are able to produce more of it and get better at producing it for cheaper because now we have more demand. And then ultimately it's pursuing additional technology. AI might be the exception on this one, just due to how much resources or how many resources are required to make that at scale or even profitable in the first place. But to answer the question I posed there, which is, I think that looking at things through the lens of status and trying to pursue status in high culture, it has been useful to a degree to push things, whether it's art, technology, fashion. It's definitely been able to push things towards a practical point, but I feel like there's always just been this tipping point where you move to the absurdity, where it no longer becomes about pursuit of like trying to help rich people do rich people activities, and instead just help rich people show that they're not peasants.
Yeah. I mean, what is rich people activities? Showing they're not peasants, getting something done, eating a bowl of cereal, probably not. They don't drink beer and eat bowls of cereal up in those rich people places.
Yeah. For me, again, the reason why I really like this book, and I probably will be revisiting this one as a touchstone after I look at a bunch of other subjects that this has now got me curious about, is that I think that it goes back to, are you pursuing high status or are you pursuing principle? I think there might even be a bit of a chicken and egg question, which is that does the pursuit of status produce, I think that there's definitely been a consolidation around the capitalist model in the last 2 centuries that has really produced human flourishing and progression and a lot of wealth creation. But the question is, was that in pursuit of high status, or was high status and like rich people stuff more of an outcropping of that model? And I think that, to the author's point, he talks about the idea that young people are really the innovators and people looking to break the mold and try new things. But there's been a weird thing in the last 100 years, I'd argue, which is that people keep trying to reinvent like communism or Marxism or socialism. And it's like, why do we keep coming back to that? Is that just an outgrowth of the innovators that exist in a capitalist system? Or is that an outgrowth of what the capitalist system has created?
I am not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole because
I'm not either.
All
because
sorts
I don't
of
have
the
answers
wrong.
for it, I think.
Well, I would go down something that would probably not get the Degen Roundtable to continue to be on YouTube, or at least to be in decent standing.
Fair enough. But the reason
people probably know my opinions on these things.
That's fair. The reason I pose
and if they
these
don't,
questions,
ask me in Telegram, and I'll tell you all about it.
there you go. The reason I pose these questions at the end is because I think that these are the questions that kind of are outcroppings of this kind of way of thinking, the single factor analysis, looking at the status games as the end all be all. I think that it's one way to look at it, but there are other larger questions that are an outcropping of this. Did you kind of come to that that idea, or did it seem like this was more of a conclusive work?
It seemed more conclusive to me, but I
Okay.
don't think that I put anywhere near as much thought as you did into it. I would have put this book in good soup. I didn't know about Galaxy Brain, but
It may
I don't
ultimately end
think I
up there
gave
for
this
me.
book a fair shake to extract as much as you did from it. So, like, I'm sorry I don't have a better answer, but like I
It's
don't
all good.
I
You
think
don't
I think
have
that
to have one.
the book had a whole bunch of great stuff. It had a bunch of great awesome stuff in it, and to that point I thought that it was pretty conclusive in its statements, and there were some things that I agreed with. There's some things I disagreed with, And thank God we've read How to Read a Book by Mortimer Adler. Now, I didn't take hardly any of his advice when I did read this book, but I do remember of the questions. It's like, what is the author trying to say, you know? And like, oh fuck, I guess I don't remember the 4 questions. Well, fucking a. The I thought that this book was pretty good, even though I don't agree with everything inside of it. There was a lot of great information in there, and I'm at least thinking differently about how status and culture intersect, and how like people use them. And like this was something that I had never really considered before. I'd never really thought deeply about it until yesterday and today. So
That's
that's what I
true.
think.
By the way, I kind of entered the same place as you, which is like, did I agree with everything in the book? No. New perspective on a lot of things? Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
Kind of a reformulation or more precise saying of things I've already thought in the past? Also, yes, for sure. And by the way, do you have I know we're probably running a little bit late, but I got one extra question I want to get to after we cover some chat shoutouts, because I think the folks had some really good answers to the stuff I was talking about there at the end.
Okie dokie. I have to answer the door real quick. Can you cover chat shoutouts? I will be right back.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Thank you, sir.
First up, moon-pilled rational optics. When thought is removed from creation, the creation will be hollow and meaningless. I think that really sums up kind of how I was feeling when it came to when does it go too far, especially when it came to like the art and the fashion kind of stuff. I think I'm right there with you, which is that when the creation had thought behind it, like when the great works were trying to portray like human emotions, human discovery, that kind of stuff, where you really got a lot of the great works of like the Enlightenment, the Renaissance. I think that really comes into it. And then once you start getting into a lot of the other stuff that we've seen in the last 200 years, that's where you get the idea that the creation will be hollow and meaningless. And I think that it really comes through. I mean, it's part of why I think the critique of modern architecture of like it feels soulless and just grotesque and just brutal. That's where it really comes from. But Arceus, this is one of the thoughts that originally even led me down the path to this book, was about luxury. If there's a banner outside that says luxury condominiums, it's not a luxury condominium. Agreed. I think a lot of the famous examples that we've seen on social media are people that are showing, here's a tour of my luxury apartment. And they walk in and it's like, here's how I have to key fob in this one door because the key fob on the other door is broken and I can't use it. Now, if we continue towards the elevator that still has the moving in, like cloth protective things on it that have been there for 3 years, we now have to pass a wet floor sign because the floor is dripping in my luxury condominium and it has not been fixed yet. It's that kind of exact thing. And gosh, I think I have another one here for you. Let's see. It's a great way to kill time while Will's gone, by the way.
Isn't really luxury anymore. It's more like a real estate extraction racket. Let me tell you why. This happened in fashion first. In her book Deluxe, Dana Thomas warned us about this decades ago. She wrote that to make luxury accessible to all, corporations stripped away its integrity. They replaced craftsmanship with logos. In hospitality, that's meant replacing service and hospitality with aesthetic and marketing. The modern hotel and hospitality brand tells itself a lie, that if we make it look expensive, it is expensive. So we get ornate details, fancy lighting, marble floors, all the accoutrements, but it feels more like a stage, not a world that you can enter into. You see, real luxury used to be defined by protection and access. Protection from noise, friction, effort. You felt like you didn't have to lift a finger and that it was a little bit exclusive. Now luxury is asking you to scan a QR code, wait in line, or download an app to join their points program. So why did this happen? The reason is not taste, it's incentives. Luxury brands started to scale like tech companies. Companies built luxury hospitality brands to scale, dumping millions into celebrity endorsements and influencers. But luxury isn't meant to scale. In Status and Culture, David Marks says that when luxury becomes too accessible, it loses its power. Luxury hospitality used to gatekeep experiences, but now they're distributing memberships. You have luxury brands now operating more like factories. This is how you get $900 rooms that feel like they're worth $90. And many move to an asset-light model, meaning they don't even own the buildings that they run. The future will be split into two. You'll have commoditized luxury, expensive and pretty, but very transactional. And then you'll have true luxury, which is defined by inefficiency. Most luxury brands aren't bad. They're just confusing, and confusing is the enemy of trust. And then you mix in the hospitality staffing shortage, and you have a recipe for luxury costing a lot and delivering little. Luxury hospitality isn't really luxury.
There you go.
Yeah.
It was in a reference to Arceus there, saying if it says luxury condominium, it's not a luxury condominium.
Yeah, that shit straight up marketing lies is what that is.
True. But yeah, that again was one of the reels from the Ryan experience that really got me going down this rabbit hole and pointed me to the book. So shout out to
You know
that
what
guy.
luxury doesn't do? Advertise itself. Tell me the last time you've seen a Rolex commercial or a Ferrari commercial, or the last time that like you heard about you didn't, because you don't know about it because you're a commoner. Sorry guys, we're all fucking commoners here. So if we know about it, it's not luxury.
There you go. And by the way, Moon Pilled Rational Optics with another 10 out of 10 comment here. It's all about creating the illusion. Well said, sir.
Yep.
Alrighty, got a few more I wanted to hit before we get on to the final question of the evening.
Yes.
Robert Brooker saying he's having a good time with the COC messages on Floatplane.
Code of conduct, for those of you guys that do not know, code of conduct messages on a float plane is basically like when some sort of air traffic controller somewhere is like, hey, you're within 30 miles of another aircraft. You're within 60 miles of another aircraft. You need to, blah, 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 blah. So just some navigational stuff for you guys there.
There you go. Diamond Hand Degenerate, good to see you, sir. He says, watched one of your videos on replay and my ozonator came in. Put it to use and you are correct, Will. It gets rid of odors as well.
Fuck yeah, dude. That makes me so happy because you've just validated this thing that I've been trying to teach people for a long, long, long time. And you, sir, took action, and I respect that. Nobody I know of has ever bought an ozonator except you, Diamond Hand Degenerate. So I have taken a screenshot of that, by the way, and I've put that in my motivation folder, which not a lot of stuff goes into my motivation folder on Telegram, which is basically where I look whenever I'm like, man, life sucks. I hate myself or something. It's like, oh, no, it actually doesn't suck because I've helped a whole bunch of people and I've done a whole bunch of things. So, sir, you have brought me more joy than you could possibly know. It is great to be validated when the things that you think about and you talk about offhandedly, other people go and take action on. And this, sir, feels fantastic. And I am very, very happy that you are now able to remove scents from your house that you don't want to be there anymore. So for the folks at home who want more information, if you want to remove scents from things, Brendan and I, Brendan the Anonymous Bean, we did a quite a long talk about the chemical that Febreze uses, and also ozone, and how you can use those two things to remove scents from your house that you don't want. So Febreze is like, a topical, and then ozone, it generates a highly reactive molecule that basically rips apart any organic material, which is where most smells come from. So just some fun facts there. Diamond Hand, you've made my day, good sir. Thank you so much.
Excellent. By the way, here's a comment that made my day.
Sam
Stevenson came in during our art section. He said, true art is an explosion. Which, by the way, is a reference to Naruto Shippuden, by the way. So shout out to you, Sam. I see you making the references over there. Yes, that is a reference to Datara, one of the Akatsuki members, who's pretty much sole jutsu is being able to make explosive clay from their body. And this was this was especially funny to me because I watched an NC Hammer 23 video like literally last night talking about the top 10 jutsus that we only saw once, and Datara made the list with the C0 explosion when the guy pretty much made explosive clay, fed it to his heart, and then blew up like an atomic weapon. So shout out to you, Sam. Cool. Sam knows ball.
Sam knows what's up. That's awesome.
True. Alrighty, Will, final question here for you. Where do the crypto bros fall into this book? We are here for the pursuit of meme coins that will get us Lambos and Rolexes because we want those things. We want to go to the yacht parties. if you had to describe one category of people from the book, where does that really fall into?
I wish that the crypto bros were better than they are. I really do. I wish that they were authentic, and I wish that
I think
there
they're
was.
genuinely authentic in this desire. I
Let me
think
let
this
me
is authentic.
let me finish. I wish that crypto bros had the ability to get as wealthy as crypto would allow them outside of the crypto sphere. I wish that the opportunity to generate the wealth that is only basically accessible in the gambling uh uh fucking online internet Ponzi money scheme. I wish that they could get this wealth from the real world, and it saddens me that like we have to, or that we feel the need to have to. You know, everyone's got their own free ways to go and make value and make the world a better place and go earn an income and do things, right? The A lot of us have chosen crypto because the standard system just doesn't fucking work. And like we're at our last straw, or we're like close to it, or something of those means. And so we're in a place of pseudo semi desperation, but not like really, because hopefully most of us have jobs, you know. But like I wish that we didn't have to find ourselves in this place, and that we could find ways to make wealth, like through our hard work and our labor and doing this stuff and be successful with it outside of the cryptosphere. I wish that that existed, but it doesn't. And so what happens now? We find ourselves in the cryptosphere, and now the goal is to basically get lucky gambling on something that increases later, so we can cash out, and then we turn into the new wealth people, as described in this book, the young wealth, or whatever the term was that it's called. Um, but that's where I see the crypto bros in here, is like there's going to be a lot of new wealth. And for those of you guys that don't know, I used to be in the war room. I used to be in Andrew Tate's war room, and one of the things that I learned in there is there's a lot of, they call themselves G's, right? There's a lot of G's that are young, and they do a really good job copywriting, or they do a really good job drop shipping, or they do a really good job doing whatever was in the Hustlers University courses, and they make a boatload of money, and they're fucking young, and they haven't gone and like sacrificed a whole bunch of stuff. They haven't like sweated it out. They haven't done a bunch of construction. They haven't like paid the iron price. To those of you guys that know Game of Thrones, right? They haven't paid the iron price for the wealth that they earned. And you see it when you go to meetups and you hang out with these gentlemen, and it's like, oh, these kids, like, they're super enthusiastic, but they're crazy uncalibrated, and they're crazy wealthy. It's like giving dynamite to children, you know. And I don't want to see that happen to my crypto friends and my crypto bros. And like, odds are that it's probably not going to happen, because a lot of people that are in the crypto space are semi struggling in the real world, so they've gone through the trials and the tribulations. They've earned the character, and they've earned the scars and the calluses on the hands, and whatever you want to call it. They've gone through and they've done that stuff, and they're just trying to find a way to, and I'm kind of projecting here, probably. So take it with a grain of salt. They're trying to find a way to be financially successful, to where they don't have to suffer as crazily as they do in order to survive. And like, I wish that the world could be more, not the world. I wish that the financial system could be more conducive to most everybody, in such a way that you could work and you wouldn't have to feel this crazy pressure. You wouldn't have to feel like, if I get a broken leg, then I'm going into debt for the rest of my life. If I want to go to college, then I'm going to be in debt for the rest of my life. If I want to be a doctor, then I'm going to be in debt for the rest of my life. There's all these things that um that exists, that does not serve the common folk well. And so I wish that the system was better, but it's not. So my wishes are irrelevant. And so where does that put us? Is that we are now a whole bunch of crypto bros trying to gamble and be lucky. And theoretically, we're all going to get crazy wealthy, and we're going to get these, these roughnecks, and these blue collar folks, and these guys that, do this, that, or the other thing. We're all just going to be put in this big pot of money section, hopefully. Right. There will be many that sell their bags, and they leave, and they're done. And like, I'm not concerned with them, because it's like, sorry guys, you didn't make it. I have empathy for you. I have sympathy for you. But like, in order to make it, you got to make it. You got to do the work. You got to sacrifice. You got to tough it out. And, maybe we just sit here with our bags going down, down, down forever. And then we all suffer together. Who knows? But, but like,
more iron test for you.
that's my thought, is that like we're all going to be thrust into this world of new wealth, and we're going to have to figure out what the fuck we're going to do with ourselves when we've got a boatload of money and the time is free. And it's like, that's why we're always asking here on the Degen Roundtables, like, what are you going to do with your time when you don't have to worry about money anymore? What's going to be your purpose in life? What's going to be your drive? What's going to be the thing that you do to produce and create? Because the money, the cryptocurrency, is just a metric of the value that's already been created. The value being like, I've made a grilled cheese sandwich, I've fixed someone's plumbing, I delivered a baby, I moved the stuff from this house to this house, I built this thing, I laid this bridge. The money is just the metric of the value that's already been created. And when you just keep creating more money, the world still has the same amount of like physical value that's moving around, goods and services, like Richard Hart says. So like, when you increase the number of tokens that measure the value, then it's like, okay, now my token amount has been recalibrated, and I'm okay to, not have to worry about eating bread and ramen for the next 4 years. So like, there's a lot of things that a lot of cryptocurrency people need to think about if they plan on being successful in this area. Is like, what am I going to do with my time? What am I going to do with my purpose? And then like, what am I going to do to fit into this new wealth category that I find myself in? So those are some of my thoughts and my considerations. What about you, Broski? I've spoken enough.
No, I thought that was fantastic. Like you, if you spike hard and make a lot of money out of the blue, it's just being a lottery winner. But I also have a slightly more optimistic view of what I'm seeing in cryptocurrency trends, and especially in the circles that I think we're running in. But I think that the crypto bro meme of like Lamboing out, getting the rollie, going on the yachts, that kind of stuff, I think it's a classic thing that the author talks about in the book, which is the battle between new money and old money. The whole point of old money or high society and wealth in that way is to keep folks out. So now in the internet age, when more people than ever are able to get into that economic category, or even make that economic category look tiny in comparison based on what you can create in the digital age, it even more exacerbates the old money versus new money dynamic. And I think that what I see in kind of like the crypto mentality of like, we're going to Lambo out, we're going to get the rollies, we're going to pop bottles in the club, that kind of stuff. It's definitely that new money mentality, but it's also got that unique internet age twist on it too, which is that I think people like these things because they think they're cool. I think that there will probably, if you get into that category, I think there will probably be a natural progression where you're like, you get the cool stuff, you experience it, it's fun. But I think those people also are going to be able to outgrow it, or they're going to get into the things, they're going to find the cool thing that they like, and they're really going to go deep on it. I think there's going to be the crypto bros that they buy the Lambo. They're like, man, this thing's sick. I wonder what other kind of cars are out there. Like, hey, this car community is actually like pretty decent. Like, I want to go deep on this. Or even people are like, yeah, I got the Rolex. This is cool. And they're like, is it cool? Now that I have it, is it cool because it's expensive, or is it cool because I actually think it's cool? And they start going into like other watches, maybe not even expensive watches, but they're just like, man, there's a lot of cool watches out here. I love this. Or they're going to get in there. They're going to be like, man, popping bottles at the club is kind of cool, but it was cooler when I did it with like the homies. So it's like, I'm going to focus more on building the network and that kind of stuff with other people that have been able to make it and have the same similar mentality. And I think that the crypto mentality, especially among hexagons in particular, I think is that people are looking for not just the flash in the pan, because the idea is like the worst thing in the world isn't never being able to achieve your dreams and get the things you want. It's worse to get there and realize that everything was hollow. I think that because there has been struggle when it comes to dealing with like fighting inflation, fighting government spending, all that kind of stuff, finding the better place for your money, doing the work of learning DeFi, all that kind of stuff. There is an amount of sweat equity that's gone into it that's going to allow people to enjoy it. And then at the same time, personally, I think a rejection of old money mentality is a good thing. And I think that we can build a much better culture with the up and coming generation, instead of just keeping the vestigial corpse of the boomers going for as long as they possibly can. So I am uniquely optimistic about this. Oh, by the way, Robert, I was looking at cool Casios last night in bed, and I was like, I know these are Casios, I know they're quartzes, but like, these are just cool. These are super cool. In particular, the Casio MTP M300L. It is a Casio that has a day date function, but also has a moon phase on it. Do you know how many watches don't have moon phases? And I think moon phases are like the coolest thing ever. And I'm so mad because that is a Japan exclusive watch. I can't get it here in the States for like under $1,000, even though it's $100 watch. Like, yeah, the Rollies are cool. Moon phase Casio, I think, is even cooler. And it's stuff like that.
It tells you what moon phase we're in.
Well, it's actually just a 24-hour timekeeper saying AM or PM, which is like you either get a sun or a moon. But there are more expensive complications out there that will also do phase of moon as well. Those ones are also chef's kiss, baby.
So it's a watch that says on or off, sun or moon. That's the whole watch, or is it this is just in addition?
It's like a little subdial that rotates between a window, so you only see half of it, and you either see like a sun or a moon and some stars.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
that's
my point is, no,
is that the whole watch?
It's a small part of the watch. It's a subdial.
Oh, okay. I was like, fucking watch that's like on off. Sorry, continue.
You're good. My point being, I think that the crypto mentality is definitely new money mentality. There is a degree of it that is very much like internet, social media culture stuff, which is like, I'm just trying to like be expensive and look fancy and chase clout and all that stuff. But at the same time, I think the crypto community has a unique framing to it, which is that the people that have really studied it, the people that get the deep Naruto references like Sam, those kind of folks, they understand that, like, look, fiat currency sucks, man. Wealth is attainable in this lifetime. And we can help build maybe new high status of like people that understand the money system's broken. And I'm very optimistic about it. I think it's funny. I think it's cool. I also happen to think that Lambos and Rolexes are pretty cool because Rolexes have a lot of heritage. They have some really cool models out there. And the Lambo, I mean, come on, who doesn't love a good naturally aspirated V10 engine sound? It sounds sick. And they also have all-wheel drive, so have great launch control too. Yeah.
Excellent.
Alrighty, that pretty much wraps us up for this evening, except for the final thing that we have to do. Will, where can the folks find you? What do you got going on? And on the scale of 0 to 10,000 hours mastery, where does this book fall?
You guys can find me in College Station, Texas. I'll be here for the foreseeable future. You can find all my socials at will.pls.fyi. That's where everything I have. And for the folks at home that are wondering where on the scale of nothing to excellence a person should read this book, I would say it's 1,000 hours, just kind of generic, half a year into your journey, read this book. What about you, Z? Where can the folks find you? What have you got going on? And where should they read this book on their journey of excellence?
Folks, you can find me on X and Instagram at zenithdi. More importantly, you can find myself, Will, and the rest of all you good folks out there inside the Degen Roundtable Telegram community by scanning the QR code directly over me. Outside of that, we are going to be back on Sunday for our flagship news show, talking about everything going on in the crypto world. Happens at 8 p.m. Eastern time, like all of our streams. On Wednesday, we got Whiskey Wednesday, which is the opportunity to hang out with you, the community. But we also have book club next Friday, which, by the Will, it's your turn. So do you have a book in mind?
I do have a book in mind. We're going to be covering Building a Second Brain by Tiago Forte as a recover. We've covered it once. We're covering it again because I fucking love that book. And it was requested by multiple people in the Degen Roundtable Telegram or book club Telegram, which I will say only has 30-something members in it. So if you guys aren't part of the Degen Roundtable book club Telegram, then you can get there by going to t.me/Degen book club. And if you don't want to be in there, then don't go in there. I'm perfectly happy with it being just 36 people. So it's fantastic and awesome. But we are covering Building a Second Brain by Tiago Forte. This will be our second covering of this book. We are going over it again, and it's going to be awesome, and it's going to be great. And that's what we're doing 1 week from now. It's a very short, easy book. High leverage move. That's all I got, Z. Back to you.
Excellent. Alrighty, 0 to 10,000 hours. I'm throwing this at 3,000 hours. The reason being, is this a very interesting book from the like kind of high level worldview kind of stuff? I'd say yeah. Super practical? I'd argue no. And if anything, I think that it could probably be pushed out even further to help you later on in the journey of mastery. Because according to this book, the whole reason that you're going through the journey of mastery is to attain high status and play the biggest game in town, which the author argues is the status game. So I think it's more of a later read. Interesting thoughts for sure, but I think that it will be more helpful the later on in life you are, or the more the closer you are to actually like doing the thing. Is this going to help you do the thing? No, but it might help you understand the context of your life once you accomplish the thing. So that's why I put it out there. I would have, based on that context, it might even be like an 8,000 hour book. I don't know. Could be. Alrighty, tell you what, that is pretty much what we got for this evening. I have one final thing, a treat, if you will. I will go ahead and demonetize us just for the sake of Moonpill Rational Optics. So let's see what he threw out there.
Excellent.
Oh, sorry. It's a nice Carhartt.
Oh, I love this too.
What trade you in?
No, I'm not in the trade. I went to college.
Stolen valor. You probably never worked a day in your life. Take that shirt off.
Bro, no, I was wearing Carhartt before it was cool.
You probably don't even have a job.
Actually, I do. I'm a contractor.
My apologies. Where at?
Digital marketing firm.
Holy
Oh my God. I love that piece you're wearing. That's a gas denim jacket with a corduroy collar. Where did you find that?
My closet.
This is my grail. I'll give you $200.
This is my $200? Done. I actually got some more stuff in my truck if you want to take a look.
You have more vintage heart in your truck?
Sure. Yeah, let's call it that.
I got cash. Let me just convert some crypto.
This one I got in 98,
right.
$300.
Sold.
Both of them for $2,000.
Can you do 1,900?
Yes, I can. $4,000 for the last piece I got.
I'll take it. Skylar, we are going to look so awesome on the gram.
Hey, boss, I am not coming in today or the rest of the week.
That's fucking awesome. I love Oh You Betcha. They're great.
They are great. Gosh, I think they also have I think it's a podcast where they're like literally sitting at a Midwest bar, just talking about Midwest stuff. They have some good stuff from that one as well. So thank you, Moonfield Rational Optics. Really appreciate that one for the good chuckle. Happy to, maybe demonetize the video for that one. I'd say it's worth
fun.
it.
We didn't get any super chats, and we don't run ads, so
hey,
not a problem for this one around. Anyways, I don't know how many strikes we get, so worth it.
Hopefully that's not strike worthy. If anything, it's relevant to the conversation. We could argue it's in fair use. So there you go.
Yep.
Excellent. All righty. So
clicking if you want.
Sounds good.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you all for spending your valuable time here with us on the DGen Roundtable. As our own Agent Jay often says, we know that time is your most valuable asset. And we appreciate you spending it right here with us. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Zenith, but more importantly, you have been watching the DGen Roundtable. Mr. Producer, go ahead and get that trigger finger ready because it's time to remind all the folks at home to remember to DGen responsibly.